Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of PMP's Den of Antiquities. Today, we are talking about Jedi Survivor. We're having a Jedi Survivor powwow roundtable. It's been, like 4 months? It would release like at the end of April. So it's been out 4 months since the game's been announced and played and all that fun jazz. And I got the usual peeps with me here today to talk about it. So let's just get right into it. What did you guys think about kind of the story overall? We'll kind of get into the nitty gritties as soon, but like just as a whole, what did you guys think of it being as a sequel?
Oh, you want to go down the line? I think it's
whoever wants to talk first, go down the line. Whatever we want to do.
All right. Well, yeah. I mean, I thought it was a really well done sequel. I thought the story was very good. I was playing it with Avela, or I was playing through it. She was watching behind me, scared for anything that would jump at me. No, but we were like hooked pretty much the entire time. Like we played through the story like in the first 2 or 3 days. And yeah, I mean, and then after we were finished, it was sort of like, damn. Now we gotta wait for the third one. No, but I thought it was very well done. I honestly, because I had not played through Fallen Order myself completely. Like I watched like a full playthrough, but I don't know, something about like the mechanics or like the fighting mechanics in Fallen Order, I just didn't really like. But yeah, in Jedi Survivor, I really enjoyed the combat. I think it's really fun. And overall, I also felt, maybe because I was playing it, I felt more intrigued by the story too. So I think it was, like not to go too much into detail, but so I would say it was a very well done sequel.
Very cool, very cool.
I mean, especially off of the first game, perfect sequel. I loved the story about it. There were a few things, like a few hiccups, progression-wise in the story that were like, oh, that kind of could have been avoided if they did this, but that you kind of get that really with any story you go with. So there wasn't, immersion breaking or anything like that. I think it did everything the first game did with a nice layer of frosting on top. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I agree. I think, solely based off the first game, like I liked the first game. It was obviously really fun. But I feel like it didn't have like a lot of oomph to it. It was kind of one of the games I played, and I found some stuff, and I like played through it pretty well. But once I was done with it, I was just kind of like, okay, like I'm good. But with this next game, like you said, frosting on top, it was like everything, like 95% of the things that I didn't like, even if they weren't even like bad things, but just me personally didn't like. I think they fixed, and it was just super smooth, clean game. And when it comes to the story, I think it was like just such a good story. Crazy. I play, like all these games, I play super slow through the campaign. So I'll go find everything in between and upgrade, and like I'll make sure everything's done before I do the last level. And so just like living in that world, especially on was it Kobo?
Yeah, that's like the main hub.
Yeah.
That's 70% of the game right there.
Yeah, playing on that level, and like I feel like it matched like California's environment super well. So I just was like, I kind of know how this would be. And
bro, you got rancors walking around.
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, and just the immersiveness of being in that for a long time and spending a lot of time in that game was it definitely it was awesome. Like it was great.
No, I absolutely agree. I'm also from California, so getting to explore Kobo, like I literally felt like I was just walking through like my backyard. I'm not that nice.
Just have a walk out St. Lucas Hall out in the backyard.
Jealous.
I'm not that fancy, but in terms of the environment and giving it a Star Wars spin on it, that just felt so cool. But the story to me was so much more immersive. It was just a higher level up to the first one. Like the first one was good, but it left me wanting more. And the second one just absolutely blew me away. There was a lot of twists and turns that I did not expect coming. Like, nothing was predictable to me. Seeing Cal grow as a character, you know, I mean, even though he's still a young man at this point, he still feels more mature and older. Like, he didn't seem like too much like overpowered or anything. It was like a nice balance of in between of what it kind of means to be a Jedi and fighting on the light side of the Force. He was faced with a lot of difficult challenges that I think us as young adults can also relate to a certain extent. But I didn't think there was anything wrong with the story. There were a few things that I had some gripes with, but nothing major. It was just kind of minor things. But overall, I loved it. I am so excited for the third game. Knock on wood. I really hope it's coming soon because I need to know what happens next, like tomorrow. Because so good.
Very cool. Very cool.
Right on. Yeah, I'll just did on everything these guys said. I was fascinated by, like, again, this timeline, this time period in between Revenge and, you know, A New Hope and, you know, the Rogue One area. So I've always loved, like, Cal as a character, pretty interesting and all that sort of stuff because he survived Order 66. So love the first game, love how that ended. Dodged a real bullet on that one in the form of Lord Vader himself. But no, going into this one, felt like forever waiting for this one to come out because I think it had like a few delays. But
definitely worth it for sure.
Worth the wait. Watching this, just ditto on what they said. The aftermath of everything, you're thinking like, wow, this is going great. This is too good to be true. Something happens in midway. You're like, oh, crap baskets. And, you know, I know some of this, the motion capture thing really enhanced a lot of stuff for me as far as like the story too, because Cameron Monaghan's acting skills really kicked in, and it's just a very specific scene where onion ninjas really start hitting you. So yeah, it was just an amazing story of, well, what's going to happen now that this big event's going to happen? Is you go this way, and you know, play the thing, and just can't wait to find out. So yeah, long story short, I loved it. It was amazing watching, just an awesome experience. 1000%.
Right on, man. Yeah, I can't really disagree with anything that y'all have said. I think it's as good as it can get for like I think like a sequel game. It's like everything like they built upon literally. I feel like every aspect that like the first, like it's almost to where like you play the first game now, and the first game feels like super clunky compared to like the new the number 2, and that's kind of
fine. It is finer tuned,
yeah, and then that's kind of what you want is like you almost like, I mean, you don't want the old game as like a studio, you don't want it to feel outdated or anything like that, but you always want to build and improve upon it. So and one thing I really liked is like all of the enemies that Cal faces, I feel like he like there's a part where he like realizes that like one wrong step and like that's him, you know, for the most part. You know, I don't know, maybe not so much with Ravis, but I feel like all the other ones he's like, Cal is like one step away from like literally becoming like an Inquisitor or like Dagon or Bode or anything like that. I feel like he could very quickly become somebody like that, and I kind of like that play on things. But how did you
in that sense, I think that's what reminded me so much of Luke. I see a lot of Luke Skywalker in Cal, certain moments in the game, like that you were saying, like, oh, this is the breaking point, you know, and that's that constant battle in Return of the Jedi, him at the end of the movie, right? This is way too close to getting where I don't want to be, and even seeing him embrace the dark side, that's super cool.
Yeah. Well, I like because he kind of does the, like you were saying, the exact same thing as Luke was, where he does embrace, like, you know, at the end, you know, when Luke's like just like beating Darth Vader almost, you know, like down to the ground, like he's channeling his dark side, and kind of the same, kind of skipping towards the end, but like same with Bode is like Bode's like beating the crap out of him, and then the screen goes black. You think you're dead, but he's just like literally about to pull like a Force Unleashed, where he's just about to release all his rage, which is kind of cool. But he doesn't consume it, which is also cool. But a lot of there was a lot of speculation and a lot of mystery around Dagon. And I'm curious to see kind of what, now that we have the full story of like who he is, what he's about, like how do you guys feel about him? Because it seemed like he was the main bad guy, and then you play through the story and he's just kind of like a side bad guy, like he's not really the main antagonist. So I'm curious to see how you guys kind of feel about it.
I mean, that kind of ties into what one of my gripes was mainly the replayability factor. I think since 100%ing the game and even beating it, months ago, like when it first came out, I don't feel I need to play it anytime soon because I know what happens. And that's just kind of like watching the movie Star Wars. Like, what happens, so you'll rewatch it in a long while, right? But yeah, seeing Dagon Gera's character, it makes a lot of sense to be in that era, because I personally don't know too much about the High Republic. I wasn't really a whole lot interested in it. But something about being cryogenically frozen and back to right before you turn to the dark side, like with that rage with you, it's a nice way to do that. So.
Yeah, no, I agree. I thought that, like that sort of like there were like multiple things that they sort of throw at you when you meet him. Is like, first it's like, okay, there's someone in the back to tank, and it seems like, this whole structure is High Republic, which, by the way, also like sort of same as JT. Like, I don't really know anything about the High Republic. Like, Avila was sort of my tour guide. She knows a bit more about it. She read like some of the adult novels and stuff. So she was like telling me stuff on the side when they dropped some hints. But I will say, I think the game did a good job at making me interested in that timeline. The way they were, like, that timeline and the Jedi in that time were portrayed was really interesting, I thought, and sort of what their aspirations were at the time. But yeah, with Dagon, it was like sort of like first like, whoa, this guy is like hundreds, thousands of years old.
Robin Williams, what year is it?
And like first you're like, whoa, and he's like still alive, and then he starts using the Force and bleeding the crystal, and then you're like, oh fuck. Okay, all right. The little explosion when the crystal finally turns is a little cheesy to me, not gonna lie. But the way it was done, the way everything looked was cool. Like he was like kind of disheveled by himself, like turned his back, and he's like, "What are you doing? No!" And then boom, and then it's red, and he's a bad. Yeah, that's a bad guy.
Well, doesn't in the correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't in the Vader comic, doesn't it also kind of give off that same like pulse wave or something like that when he's pouring his hate into it?
Charles Soule's rendition of that.
I haven't read it.
Imperial Machine. There is that shot of him levitating with all his armor. Okay. But I can't remember. It's been a while.
Okay. Sarah or Mike, did you guys have any thoughts on Dagon?
I really enjoyed Dagon Gera's character. I think same as everyone else here. I didn't know anything about the High Republic going into it. And I wasn't interested either in the story or the books, because I was just like, it's too many. I don't have the time to read a whole another series. So I just wanted to go into the game, as open-minded as I could, trying to figure out as much as I could as I was exploring the temples and everything. But yeah, when we first meet Dagon Gera, I was so immersed and like so intrigued into that cutscene that I literally forgot I was playing a video game. So when it got to the point where Cal has to fight Dagon, I was like, oh, that sucks. Cal has to fight Dagon. I was like, wait, I have to fight Dagon. Like, it started hitting me like, oh crap, I have to fight him now. And like my hands just started sweating and I was like shaking. Like I was like, oh my gosh, I gotta like learn his attack moves now because I'm sure they're gonna be rapid. But no, he was a very fun an interesting character. I thought he was built up enough good. The only thing I was kind of curious about that I wish they would have touched on more is if his relationship with Centauri Kree. Because I'm pretty sure it was obvious that they had like a thing going on, but it was never like said directly throughout the cutscenes, like, or in the forced flashbacks that Cal would see. Like, so I was like, were they a thing, or did they just have a close relationship? Like, were they just, I don't know. Like, that's one thing I wish they touched on more, because for Dagon to build up so much rage and so much hate, not just against the Jedi Order, but also with Centauri Kree, then there must have been a reason for it. But that's my only gripe with it.
Well, I think his hatred towards Centauri, found in a couple of the echoes, comes for his drive to Tanalorr. Like, his obsession for Tanalorr basically turned him to the dark side because he was denied his drive. And what's your purpose, when you have no drive towards that something? That's why, Jedi are not really supposed to indulge in selfish acts like that. So,
dude, that's why he turns into a Sith, man. It's all about drive. It's all about power,
That's we so hungry we devour. I mean, put in work in the hours. No, he lost his arm that way. He lost his arm that way. Only bad guys are bald and lose limbs. Okay, so just stay good. Don't be selfish.
I did like that kind of like Force Ghost kind of arm thing that he had though in the fight. Like towards
that was cool. Yeah.
I like how they kind of mixed it, because like they did this kind of like weird like. I'm blanking on the movie. There's a movie that kind of does that, where like all the particles like kind of come together and it shows like the imagery of like what's happening. I know there's a movie that does that, but I'm blanking on the movie right now, but I like that effect. And they kind of did that within it was like a spirit realm fighter almost, or something like that. It was kind of cool.
Yeah.
But Mike, did you have anything about Dagon before we?
Not much. I mean, just, I think, him being connected to the High Republic and that being added to the story because of that through him. I think that was really neat. I only read one of the High Republic books, so like I have some knowledge of it, or at least of like the beginning of the stories and stuff. But I just think he was a really cool character. Like, he didn't have a super in-depth story, so I can't really like connect with him as a character a ton. But I think it was cool to kind of see almost like an Anakin style character. Obviously, Anakin the whole time has like this attachment, and like you were saying, JT, he's like has this attachment and this drive to Anakin has the drive to bring people back to life because he thinks Padme is going to die, and this guy has this like crazy dream that just turns him insane pretty much. And to see that obviously in a different character was really cool, kind of mirroring Anakin, and just the fact that he had one arm. I think that was really interesting, and good character.
Very something cool, about him having one arm and then a double-bladed lightsaber in the other, like a staff, and him, like when the boss fight just starts, he's just standing there looking at you, like slightly turned with it, and I'm like, okay, so what are we? Who's gonna make the move?
I guess there was one thing is the only gripe I'd have is I feel like they showed how strong he was, like here and there, and like he seemed like he was really, really strong, but like Cal could beat him. And so I was kind of like, I guess it makes sense, the Force chooses what happens. You don't really choose exactly, but
yeah. We fight the guy like 3 times, right? Something like that.
Yeah.
I wish you kill Ravis and then he's alive for the 3rd game. Then you can have more time to flesh out his character, because it is a cool concept, like you're saying. The the parallel to Anakin and showing normies, I guess, that Jedi being obsessed is bad. It's a bad path to follow down. So,
well, you just touched on something. Well, I thought would have been cool too is like, so how they do like the kind of like the buddy system with like him and Bode, and then him and Cal and Marin, kind of being able to attack. Like, I think there would have been cool if there would have been some boss fight where like Ravis and Dagon would have teamed up, and you maybe had to fight with you and Bode or something like that. I think that kind of like, it doesn't have to be like the infight, but I think that would have been something that was kind of cool as well. But so this is something that I've been hearing around and stuff like that, and I wanted to get your guys' opinion on it. Do you think Dagon should have been the main guy at the end? Like, because you could have totally like flipped flipped them where like Bode could have been exposed in the middle, kind of where Dagon dies, and then that fight, and then you could have had Dagon at the end of it? Or do you guys like it the way that it was?
I like the way it was.
I like the way that it was to an extent because the twist was unexpected.
Yeah.
I like that.
I've also heard a lot of people
at the beginning. Yeah,
a lot of people said that the twist was obvious. I don't know about you guys. I wasn't seeing that coming.
I didn't see it coming.
Mhm.
The only thing when the game came out, I was in Kentucky. I was in a different state, right? So I'm just scrolling on YouTube. I didn't search anything related to Survivor, nothing like that. And then boom, there's a video of just the thumbnail with Vader's saber in sear, and I'm like,
That's
Yep. Spoilers.
That's
the thumbnail. They didn't even I didn't even watch the video. Like they just spoiled it, and I just scrolled by it. I'm like, oh, what's that? I'm like, oh, that's great. Next, thanks, dude. Awesome.
It's like, oh, great. What's next? And then it's like, all right, refunding Jedi Survivor.
and that's the thing. I was gonna pre-order it too, but I got it. The next day or two after it came out. But and then like an hour after I seen Boba Fett's shoes, and the next I'm like, dude, come on! Like people are just using these thumbnails, man. It's so annoying. Like I get it. Like you want to make a quick buck on YouTube, whatever. But like, at least give people time to see it for themselves. Like, because I didn't search any keywords or anything related to that.
Well, that's what we were talking about. Like giving, like I think people think like they need to do the same thing as like the shows, where like they'll wait like a day or two for like the show and then talk about it. Like with games, like if anybody on YouTube and you're a YouTuber, like if it's a video game, dude, wait at least a week. At minimum, at least a week to
a lot
like
of people don't have that kind of time.
Yeah, people need time to play through it.
Because it just ruined. Because like I'm like, yeah, I could totally like hide. Like, it's kind of annoying though that I have to like hide away from like any social media or like YouTube or anything like that, to get away from all the spoilers. I'm just like, bro, I have to literally stop doing everything to if I don't beat the game in like the first
change your way of life to because you didn't get the advantage pass.
Yeah,
I totally get that.
But something like Bode's betrayal though, I definitely wasn't seeing that. They did the key or whatever. The camera pans over and he's guns in Master
Cardova.
Whatever. Cardova, is in his like belly and stuff, and I'm like, don't do it. And then he shoots him, and I'm like, that's the guy from the first game. No.
Oh, yo, also, who thought Cardova was alive? I was like, Cardova's alive. Like, what? How are you alive?
So in the first game, like you read the echoes and all the scannables and stuff, like it gives the atmosphere like this dude has been dead for some time and he's just like learning off of his past like teachings and stuff. But
like,
in the second game, he's just hiding in a weird looking cave. He's old man.
He's gonna come back in the third game and be like, I wasn't really dead.
At the funeral, he just rolled out of his body.
Real fast. My thing on the High Republic thing is I did just like everybody else. I tried. It wasn't for me. However, the way they did it in this game for that guy, I enjoyed it. Especially, you go through the whole thing and learn certain stuff, and it's like, how bad of a person can you be? Open up the thing, all that sort of stuff.
Like, oh, you're really bad.
Starts talking about stuff and everything like this, and it's like, well, at least he's gonna be okay. You see the Kyber crystal thing, you're like, oh crap baskets.
and then you go in that old temple, like you ride the geysers up to that old High Republic temple, and you sense the echo, and it's him like force choking a dude made of like that Kobo matter goo, whatever. I'm like, that's what he did. Okay, now I understand what his true passion is. Now he just wants Tantalor, and that's it.
Yeah, so whenever he popped up, and of course it wouldn't be Star Wars without someone losing a limb. So him having like that, no arm, phantom pain type of thing, and then the way he fought and stuff like that, you're just like, okay, all right, here we go. And so to pivot back into this, sorry about that.
You're good, dude. You're good.
Man, I honestly did not see at all that coming. I dodged spoilers left and right when it came to this. So watching it, you're just like, oh, cool, man. Okay. The one thing that kind of tipped a little red, like kind of yellow mid to red flag was whenever you're starting, like Cal's like, hey, think about, sticking around here and doing stuff like that. And then you hear about the path and you're like, wait a minute, Kenobi, wait a second. And you're just like, wait a second, something's wrong. And then the way like the camera, like the way the game like scopes in on, Bode and stuff like that, you're like, dude, what are you doing? And then then the turn after you finally get to the master that you just blown your mind, like, dude, you're alive? I thought BD was just all right, cool, man, right on, let's hang out and everything. And then Bode kills him. So yeah, long story short, yeah, I was.
And his drive was kind of garbage too. Bode just for the same exact self
for the family.
Yeah, but he wanted Tanalorr just as much as Dagan.
Yeah.
And another cool thing I thought about was when Mike brought up the Anakin parallel. I was thinking, you know what, with the Ghost's arm, it kind of reminds me of the 03 Clone Wars when he grabs the Kyber crystal powering the generator on Nelvin and his hand explodes and he's choking with his stump the Techno Union from the dark side. So that's like Dagan. I mean, during the fight, he does one of these spin moves with his one arm. He just holds his like shoulder stump out and it's like spinning in place and like, But the High Republic stuff for me was more of an aesthetic pleasing choice. I love the gold trim and all that.
Oh yeah, very accenty. Yeah, for sure.
I don't know about you guys, but what made it such a good story with the whole Bode and everything was in the very beginning, and I don't know if there was red flags or it was just me thinking, but I in the beginning I was like, this dude's totally a bad guy, like for sure. And I was like so set on that. But as I played like tons of time in between each mission. So by the time I got to like that point was probably like 50 hours later from when I had that, thought, or like a month later. So in the very beginning, I was like, this dude's totally bad. But by then I was like clueless to it.
He's like, I knew it.
No, because then when it did happen, I was like, I totally forgot. I thought he was a bad guy. Which just made it so much more immersive because I was like, oh, he like totally earned my trust. Because you're playing as Cal. I'm like, oh, I'm Cal. He totally earned my trust, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, no.
Yeah, Mike, we call that chicken little syndrome. The sky was falling, and you were the only one that knew.
Dude, no, I don't know. I didn't.
No, I agree. Like there were some red flags with Bo that I was starting to pick up on, and the first one was when after they defeat Dagan, Cal's like, let's save this for the hidden path, and Bo's kind of like, why don't isn't that a little risky? And then I was like, why is Bo like not for it? Like something's weird.
Like, bro, you're sus. You're sus.
And then when Cal confronts him again when they're on Jeddah and have their little campfire or whatever, and he's like, okay, what's wrong? Like something's up. And Bo's like, I'm just thinking about my daughter. And I was like, oh, okay, he's just stressed. Like it threw me off. Like I can't believe even I was gullible enough to get thrown off. And I was like, oh, okay, he's just worried about his daughter. Like he just wants her to be safe and everything. So then when it finally happened to him pointing his gun at Cordova, I was like, what? Like, no. Yeah. Like it can't be. Like I was just filled with as much rage as Cal was, like, because that was just the biggest twist of all time. But also the fact that he was a Jedi too, who survived the purge was like even more mind blowing.
Sarah, you just reminded me of the new canon that they did with Kenobi, which I thought was pretty cool, with the way that a Jedi can't sense another Jedi if they haven't been using the Force in a long time, because they kind of lose that connection a little bit. So it gives them like an active camo, I guess, like a camouflage. Society.
Is that like a new comic or something? What was that in?
No, in Kenobi. Remember when he's on the desert? He wasn't using the Force in the show for a long time. Remember, what is he trying to pick up? I forget. He tries to pick something up, but he's like struggling.
Leia, kind of an important one.
Oh yeah, when she's jumping.
Yeah.
Daughter of the chosen one. Yeah, but he was struggling, So I think that's cool. That it kind of blends you in if you give up that decision.
Yeah. Oh, well, there's also where you said Leia. There's also when now I'm thinking about it, when he's trying to move like the little, or is that after when he's trying to move that little, like it's like a little communicator or something like that. Like he's on like a ship and he's trying to like use the force on it, and he can't like move it at all.
There was something like that, but that
it's
was
afterwards. It's
is it after? Okay, I couldn't remember if it was before or after, but
and I guess too, I just wanted to add in to jump back of just like overall all the questions, but it's coming back to me now as we're talking. But for me, it takes a lot to get like emotionally invested into stuff, like if it's a movie or a video game or whatever. But I think I could say fully, excluding obviously like things from the past when I was younger, because that stuff will always be like the best things ever. But within probably the past 10 years, this is probably the most emotionally invested I've been in a video game. And like you said, Sarah, like feeling the rage, like I was genuinely mad. I was like, what the fuck? Like, I was like this. And so, yeah, and feeling that and being able to like connect with a game like that made it just so much better and like made it so much more in universe.
Yeah.
So that was great.
He put on that costume behind him and he went. Anything else?
I agree. You really felt that rage. It was like sort of like, I'll get you. Oh yes, you get to ride the speeder bikes.
Yeah, did anybody find those like earlier? And you're like, why can't I get on?
Dude, 100%. I was so mad. I was like, why the hell can I ride these speeder bikes?
I was like, you have to eventually. I was like, this is going to be a level. Just got to wait for it.
Yeah, no, I was totally not kidding. Like, I think like moments before that thing, like I saw the speeder bikes, and I think I was even like sort of like commenting to Avela like on the side, like, damn it, like what? Why are they putting them there? Like, I want to like scoot around, and then sure enough, like,
they're in the middle of the room too, so it like makes you want to ride them even more. That's just sitting there.
That's funny.
That's part of the scripted event.
That's funny that you mentioned that though, because like literally the same thing happened to me. I think it was like a mission or two before like that goes down. Like I did something takes you kind of over in that area, or maybe I was just exploring, and I was like, it's literally going out of the garage. Like, why can't I just hop on this? Like, I don't want to ride some like dark crystal beast, because that's what those little tall things. I don't know if you guys have seen the dark crystal, but it looks like those things that they ride in the dark crystal.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't want to ride those. I want to ride the speeder bikes, And then literally like 2 missions later, you get to hop on it. And
you can't leave the car unlocked with the keys in the ignition turned over and a Lamborghini out in public.
And then there's no gas.
Yeah.
It's too expensive.
How did you guys? I know there was some also people who were mixed feelings about the Vader fight. What did you guys think about it? I thought it was cool to take over. The only thing I didn't like about the seer thing is I didn't like how I get it. It's a little tiny thing, but to me it broke the immersion when you heal and she does the same emote that Cal does. I'm like, okay, she doesn't have a droid though. Like they can't literally just do like one simple animation where she like, I don't know, maybe she like stabs herself in the side with the whatever healing canisters they are,
starts hitting her ribs.
Oh yeah, something though. Like, don't do this literally the exact same emote, because like her fighting all those storms, like you feel like you're OP as hell, like just blasting them.
Oh, you are. I think your damage is cranked up like times 4. Or something. Yeah.
But what did you guys think of that fight and that honestly just that whole scene as a whole?
I think it was more cool than anything. One of the main things that was kind of weird to me was the way that Vader was getting his ass kicked. I don't know if that's exactly how it would play out with the Chosen one. But seeing his cape on fire, tattered up.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Dead.
But the thing with that, I think it wasn't more so that he was. I mean, yes, he was getting his ass beat, but like I think he underestimated, because like if you think back to the first game, she bomb rushes him and literally yeets her. like just goes a yee, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like you can tell like he changes his fighting style by the end. Like if you look at his fighting style by the end of the fight, he's doing like one-handed. He looks very slow, and then at the end he's like coming in like
His
juggernaut
moveset
mode.
changes.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I don't know if it's necessarily that she's that much. She's definitely gotten better and is stronger. But I don't know if it's that she's like, just like she's definitely not like his equal or anything like that. But I think he underestimated, because I think that probably was a little bit of Anakin coming out and being like, oh, I'm just gonna slice her and be done with it. Like
I forgot who I am. I guess I'm just salty because in the recent 2020 Vader comics, Vader's also getting his butt kicked. So I don't know. I'm just a little sour on that. But I mean, she force pushed him into like a library, and the thing come crashing down on him, and you hear him like, you know, he gets up, he's on fire and whatnot.
merely a flesh.
But 99% of the time, any Jedi force pushes Vader, it's just kind of his cape back. You know? He's gonna be grounded. So I don't know.
Yeah, it was in between where I was like, I love seeing how strong Seer was. Like her jacking him up was cool, but I also didn't love seeing him get jacked up because I was like, that's not how it would go.
Yeah. She took out a couple ATSTs and like 40, 50 plus stormtroopers and a couple AT-ATs with those big boulder things.
Yeah, but at the same time,
that's a brick wall.
The way that it ended, I was like, that makes sense. You know?
Yeah.
Which
I really liked the way it was like almost like the same sort of scene like from the Old Republic trailer where it's like Malgus and the one Jedi like
his name
toward each other and then like you just see both of their faces and it's like, oh, who got stabbed? And then it's like, she got stabbed.
It's definitely not the guy that looks angry and the dude that's like, I think his name was Ven Zalo, something like that. But yeah, the green lights when it drops. And
Dead Jedi number 3.
Yeah, I don't know about you guys, but I was honestly surprised. Like I mean, in the moment I wasn't thinking, obviously, like clearly I was just watching, but I was like, Vader just got stabbed. Dang, like that's crazy. Like I wonder how he survived. But then when it obviously zooms out, I was like, no, dude, no. Especially like, I don't know if you guys played like a level each day or what, but I was already playing for, I don't even know, like 5 or 6 hours that day on the weekend. And I was like, I'm going to play one more level. But then like, I forget which one it was, but a bunch of stuff kicked off and I was like, I can't stop now. Like it's like rolling. I kind of want to take a break. So then I played like, I think those 3 levels, like all the crazy ones with Bode and then with Vader and like the one before where you're fighting. And it was just like, all that was crazy adrenaline rush for like this 30 minutes straight. I was like, what is happening?
Yeah, that's what I did enjoy about the game was there was some sort of storyline sandbox progression sections. So you kind of know when you're going to get into the next chapter, I guess, like the on-rails chapter. Because when you get to the Shattered Moon and they're doing the big laser Kobo beam or whatever, you're like, okay, this is going to lead into this. Like now when you look back on it, you can see how sectioned off they are, you know. Like as soon as it asks you, go back to the Jedi Archives and library, like, oh, this is the part. This is the part where Bo's going to betray. I'm going to ride a speeder bike. I'm going to do all this stuff, right? So it's nice like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The thing about was it Vader? Yeah. So yeah, watching the scene of Sirius, like, oh, okay, cool, she's alive. Oh, it's good seeing her and everything. Wow, she's taking care of business. I like this. This is impressive. And then slowly over time, much like Sam Witwer when he was playing this, which is comedy gold. Just please go watch his Twitch. The only thing like most, so you're like, man, she just wrecked the ATST. Nice. She's just doing a lot of squats. Good job on her. Good on her.
She's like skeletal too, so it's like really off.
Yeah. So doing that, and then you're just like, man, this is almost too good to be true. And then that one, there's one little moment in my brain just thinks about this a lot. Is which is like, hey, I'll be back. And anytime, whether it's a movie, whether it's a game, whether it's anything else, if anybody says I'll be back and gives you something important, well, this is not going to go well.
Unless you're Arnold Schwarzenegger, then it's a different
So I knew something was going to be bad, going to happen. And then, BD was on the little thing, downloading the thing, and you hear like a little thing in the distance, like she's like, leave. And what's that? Then boom, the chosen one enters the chat. And after that, you're just like, well, she's dead. And so the thing about this that I always remember, this takes place after Kenobi, so he's somewhat healing after his battle with Obi-Wan. And I love the fact that they bring up, when she kind of mouths off a little bit, so I'm just like, you're still alive and everything. Useless to, think, her actions have any meaning and everything, and brings down the little ledge and everything, hits the thing, her fighting and everything like that. Funny enough, I didn't think about the stems and everything like that. I was like, wait, that's right, she knew that. Mm-hmm. But so that was cool here. But no, like seeing that
Qui-Gon during the Duel of the Fates just does one of these.
Yeah, right. So watching him he was just toying around. But as soon as the fire thing got introduced, like, okay, it's time to put an end to this. Yeah. And whenever that happened, I like how they did that. I really do. Whenever jumps in the air and then you're just like, wait, what? Oh, sorry. Yeah. Well, rest in peace. You did good. If you go out by Vader, that's a pretty good way to go out. So, anyways, that was my 2 cents. Sorry.
Apprentice like master, I guess.
Yeah. Kind of off topic too, but I don't know if any of you guys played Modern Warfare 1, like the newer Modern Warfare 1. But she actually is like a sergeant in that game, like the same exact, because she's obviously she's not like a new character. She plays herself. And so playing as her is so funny because I just thought back to like her lines, because obviously it's like more gritty in Modern Warfare. So she'd be like, "Pipe death down, sergeant," like cussing and stuff. And every time I was fighting, I could just hear her, saying those lines. Like,
someone should create a mod for Survivor with her Modern Warfare quotes.
Yeah, she doesn't have too many lines, but I just was like, I was like, oh, that's so funny. Like, I always forget, and I'm like, oh, she's from Modern Warfare. But she looks, I don't know if you guys seen her in real life, but she's like all tatted up, tribal. Like, she looks badass. I was like, maybe they should have like kept that in the game. It was pretty cool.
I love how they did that with a lot of the characters. It's just the facial recognition scanning.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Of like real life, And it's hard, and The Force Unleashed is my bread and butter when it comes to Star Wars games. I don't think I have the DNA capacity to deny any of the Jedi Fallen Order, Jedi Survivor games, just because how similar of an on-rail story it is with the sandbox aspect to The Force Unleashed. Similar stories. I mean, the actors both got their faces scanned into the game. They both take out waves of stormtroopers, with combos. It's a good time.
Yeah, and this is also super off topic. Well, not super off topic, but like not what we're talking about. But I just wanted to give a shout out to the cameo in the very beginning, the patrol trooper. I love seeing that dude. Like in the very beginning, you land on the ship. And then, like, the escorts, obviously, it's Bode and I guess someone else. They're, like, walking up, and there's the stormtrooper, patrol trooper from Solo. Like, he, says Bode and I think, like, punches you or something. Yeah, I just wanted to bring that up before I forgot. Like, that was dope.
Oh, you're talking about where he's like, you terrorist, and he's like, you gonna let him talk to you like that? And then he's like, decks him. Yeah, that's funny.
Now, when you get onto the freighter, like you land and then you walk through the Coruscant and all that, you get to like the freighter elevator that takes you up with the droid, and it's like only you can come or something like that. That was, I think, one of the 2 times my game actually crashed because a lot of people were having issues with performance on that. I played on the PS5. I only had a couple, 2 or 3 moments like that. One of them was kind of heartbreaking though, because I ended up spending 30 to 40 minutes doing collectibles and stuff without saving. Crashes, and then I lost all of that. I'm like, dude, I don't want to.
We can talk about that now. I had that for the gameplay features and stuff like that, but since you went into it, dude, I really liked this game. I think it was too advanced for it's like that's a big problem with like new AAA titles is like they're not optimized for like, I guess like my PC is pretty beefy. Like I do game design and all that stuff. So I got to have a pretty, and even mine, like it was like I had it on like everything on like the lowest settings. And it's just like really for me, the biggest frame rate dips were, I don't know if you guys had this, but when you use on the Mantis, you use like the hollow map. Like every time, like my frame rate would dip, and then it would be in cutscenes too, like the cutscenes and the hollow maps.
For me, it was planting stuff on that roof in the garden.
Oh, in the garden.
Yeah, like because just like on the hollow map, like you can scroll in the space and like hover over the planet you want to select. Like hovering over each of the empty slots in the garden for some reason just like tanked the speed. I was like moving like. I'm trying to I don't want to play. I'm just trying to get a trophy, man. I
know, and we have like a group chat, Sarah, Nick, and Wes, and we were like tallying how many times the game. Like, oh, this is my third time. Oh, this is my fourth time crashing. Like, it was not. And then the other one that I had was, I don't know. So when you're under the Pyloon Saloon at the bottom and you're going up to go like into the bar. I don't know if you guys had this. That door would never freaking open.
It would take a long time.
Like I would walk up to it, it wouldn't open, and I'd have to walk back down like 4 or 5 steps, then walk back, and then it would open. But it's like every time, it still happens to me. Like the door will not open when I go up to it. I don't know why.
Legend says Max is still trying to get through that door today.
Literally, dude. Literally.
I luckily didn't have any crashes really, but frame rate wise, like every time, like on the map, you could sort of like tell when it was like sort of like a square of new map. And when you would sort of go over that boundary, then you could tell that it's like loading that next part of the map. And then the frame rate would just absolutely tank. Especially like the first day or two, like it was it's sometimes pretty bad, especially like cutscenes. And then usually like if you pause the game like immediately sort of when the cutscene started and then sort of just went on with it, then usually it caught itself. But yeah, I think actually, and I mean my PC is also, I mean it's nothing crazy but not trash either, so but I think it was like just in the sweet spot because I heard like that especially like really powerful PCs had like I think mainly because they would play on like high graphic settings. And those were just not optimized. The optimization stuff is just a problem in general with games. Like
Legend has it, Strike is still trying to load the funky caverns.
Yeah, but like, I mean, looking at games like the new Modern Warfares, like both of them, it's like, well, I guess I'll delete all of my fucking games on my PC to play this.
Which is weird though too, because they use a lot of motion blur, don't they? Like the realism aspect.
But you can turn it off too. I turn mine off. I don't know.
Yeah, it's funny that you brought that up, Max. We were all just tallying how many times the game crashed on us because, like, not even like, because that was my biggest concern because this was my first time experiencing a next-gen game on the next-gen system. So I played on the computer, and I know nothing about computers. Like, I don't know anything. So I was like, I think it was like a few weeks before the game was releasing. I was literally asking Max, what does this mean? Like, what does this setting graphics mean? What does that mean? Like what is ray tracing? Now I know what ray tracing is. But my first official crash was when you run into Marin for the first time on Jeddah, and you're fighting all the stormtroopers and like those what are they called? The security droids come in, and I'm like kicking butt, right? And all of a sudden, like Cal's running, and he's like, and I'm like, oh no. Oh no. And I just like close my eyes, and I'm like praying like he runs again, and then it just crashed.
I'm praying that he runs again.
Run again.
And on that day, Cal never ran ever again.
Yeah, I've played on the I have the Xbox Series X, and I didn't really. I had like one crash where same thing with you, JT. Like I played for like 2 hours.
Very smooth, yeah.
Like just going and finding chests, and then I lost all of it. And I'm like so mad, but
it's pain.
for like lagging and stuff. Like I turned on my graphics up pretty well. I didn't experience too much, but the one issue, and I haven't heard like anyone else complain about it, and like maybe it's because I have a controller. I kind of think it's more because of the game, but the issue I had was I like having my controls like all pretty similar in each game, especially coming from Elden Ring, and like, you know, you can block and then you can attack, and there's different attacks and stuff. I changed a lot of my controls to like the ones that I want, but it didn't leave space for all of them. Like if I would change certain ones, I couldn't have the other one. So like, because the issue was a lot of them would be two controls at once. Like it'd be press this button and this button, and then if you change it, it wouldn't let you add a second one. So you would just lose a command pretty much. So I like when you brought up like the fighting with the characters, like I did that only a couple times on the missions where you had to like do it with them, because the rest of the game I didn't even have the ability because I wanted my controls the way they were. And so I lost two controls, which like I don't even remember what the other one was because it wasn't that big of a deal. But yeah, it was kind of annoying because I would go into a fight and be like, oh, I need to do this. Let me go back and switch. Oh, that's what it was. I couldn't switch back and forth between my lightsaber styles, or I couldn't like grapple. Like it was one of those two.
I heard that was an issue too. Like people getting stuck on a lightsaber stance.
Well, for me, it was just the control, because like I would change the stuff, and then I don't remember what it was, but I changed it to where I didn't have either a left on the D-pad or a right on the D-pad. So I just pretty much have the same one. And that was my biggest gripe, because I'm like, that stinks. Like I want to be able to switch like in between, but instead I'd go and be like, oh, this is like a bigger boss. I need to switch. Then I'd go into my settings and then I'd switch which one it is. And I'm just like, it's kind of annoying to have to do that.
I'm just like you, because I mean, even like the Force Unleashed or something, square or X, whatever the one on the left is, usually always just the standard attack combo. Yeah. But Force push in the Force Unleashed is circle, and then in Survivor it's back bumper. You know, so I like the consistency. I'm like you on that.
I mean, I was playing on PC, but I also like literally it doesn't matter the game. Like I have just sort of my preference of how the controls need to be, so I work. Yeah. And like I just changed them pretty much, like almost like a lot. And then the thing was, like, for the most part, it worked fine. But then for some reason, like the blaster stance did not work for me at all.
Yeah.
Because like for some reason, when you change I don't know if it's fixed now, but I haven't tried it since then because it just didn't work. But apparently, like on PC, if you change the controls for like the shooting of the blaster stance to any other key, like that's not default, it won't work. It just won't work. So blaster stance was then completely out of the picture for me. I don't know if they fixed it like at this point, but yeah, so you could only use it if you were playing on default with that key.
Yeah, I couldn't. I can switch to it, but something happened during one of the times I just decided to jump on. I did like a heavy attack or something. I was taking out a bunch of people, and I couldn't activate the charged shot in the blaster stance. Like it was just the quick, and I'm like, I'm holding it down. I'm like, dude, go. I close out of the game, save and quit, do all that, come back, and it's fixed. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
If you guys had to pick one boss fight to be your favorite boss fight out of this one, what would you guys pick? There's a lot of good ones. So that's what I'm curious.
I don't remember his name, but definitely the technician.
Oh, Rick. Is it
Rick
the technician.
That's how good he was.
Okay. Oh, that's right. What is that from? Like, what?
I killed him on accident. Dude was running at me through the hallway with other people.
Trying to do his job, man. Come on.
Like, I know they did that SNL skit with Kylo Ren, but like, is there another?
Matt the radar.
Is it okay? Because I was like, I didn't know.
Job, that's why I thought it was so funny, because I was being Kylo. I'm like, dude, like that's great.
Dude, I just force grabbed him and then like took him to the edge and then dropped him. That was like my favorite thing to do in the game. I just pick guys up and then I would just take them to the edge and drop them, and then they'd be like, "I'm gonna get you." I'd be like, "No, you're not."
I think
you regret the day I did.
I don't know why, but for some reason I expected more. So I was just like, sort of, I just hit him once, and I mean, he just didn't block it.
I know, I killed him on accident like that.
And I was just sort of like,
same.
Wait,
Yeah.
that
Is that
was
allowed?
it?
Yeah.
You okay?
I see a health bar and like a mob of people coming down the hallway. I'm strafing. I'm like, okay, who wants it now? I do one combo and then the health bar just goes away. I'm like, oh, okay, I killed someone. I don't.
Insert Wilhelm scream.
So
Yeah.
the reason they added that, I actually just read up on it recently, was because before we hit Rick, the door technician, we go through like this crazy like wave after wave of like Imperial just coming after us, like, you know, droids coming after us on top of it. So it's like we've had so much like gamer rage from that already, like depending on what difficulty you on. So the reason why the developers put that in there was to give us, the players, a laugh, you know,
okay.
and out on
I
Rick.
guess
So it's like
that makes sense.
Poor Rick,
well-played.
man.
Yeah. But to be more serious, I like all of them were so good. Like I think the best made, the most like fun and interesting was it Garen or Force Arm guy?
Dagon.
Dagging Garrett.
Dagon was like super cool, super trippy, like Doctor Strange vibes.
Oh, definitely the end, the hallucination.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, all that. But I gotta say, I think my favorite was the Ninth Sister.
Oh, the very first one?
Because not only was it just really cool to see her come back, but I was not at all, because like at first I was like, okay, the Inquisitors will probably be a big part of this. Obviously later you find out the Inquisitors like have pretty much nothing to do with the game. But that's like the first time I think I realized that, is because you obviously kill her, like you chop her head off. And
I know,
I'm
the
like,
Savage Cat. Dude, he
like,
chops off everybody's head, dude.
Oh
Everybody.
no, an Inquisitor! What will we do?
Yeah. But that one was
that way,
definitely-
JJ.
Yeah, that one was cool because Cal just, you know, obviously like beheads her, which is crazy. But I also just think she's a dope character. So I think that was my favorite, because that was like a good intro where I'm like, oh, Cal's like strong now. Like, like you didn't kill her before and she survived and everything, and now you pretty much showed us what's up. And I'm like,
Well, I just like, because I was live streaming it when I played that, and it was like me and like this other guy in the chat, and we were both like, holy shit, like he just like went savage mode and like decapitated her head. Like you knew she was dead as soon as he was like, oh, he's like, your name is this and this.
Yep.
And then he kind of does like an Obi-Wan. He's like, I will do what I must. And then you're just like, oh, she's gone. She's done. And then he just was like, I knew he was gonna kill her, but I didn't know it was gonna be that like harsh. Like he like chops her freaking head off, man. I'm like, jeez, dude.
For me, that was the coolest part of that whole fight, because when she came on screen, I verbally sighed like out loud.
You're like,
I
another
know where this is
Inquisitor.
gonna go.
No,
I would have to say, I'm gonna have to be the Boba fan in the room here.
Nice.
I'll say the cage boss fight.
That one was
cool.
Not because of the boss fight at all. I mean, the boss fight is okay, but because of what comes after. Yeah. No, but yeah. I mean, that whole scene is just so well done and unexpected. I mean, I know we've talked about it, that unfortunately a lot of the friends we have here on the panel like got spoiled of and taken away the joy of the surprise. But I actually I don't remember if I saw it or if Avela was saying that I think Avela was saying that someone posted that they were basically saying like, finish the bounty hunter quest like as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
Like, not gonna say what, but just do it. Thank me later. And then I was like, man, what? That person wouldn't say it if it wasn't
that was
major.
Cal, wasn't it?
So
Wasn't that Cal Estes? I think he's the one that said that in our group chat. He was like, do all of them.
okay, maybe. Yeah.
That's how that's why I ended up finishing him.
Yeah. But so I mean, I was obviously hoping, but I still didn't know for sure. But yeah, when like the camera is like wide away, and then you hear the jetpack, and then you see the shoes with like the spikes, and you're like,
it was so good.
I liked female Cad Bane's character as well.
yeah,
I enjoyed
That was cool,
snarkiness, finding her in the the saloon, and it's like, oh, you
Yeah.
want
Her Australian accent.
You know, you're being haunted in many galaxies, man.
I like Paige a lot, actually. Yeah, I thought she was like just the typical like sort of sleeky bounty hunter type character, and I thought the species choice was great too. Like, I mean, apart from Kit Fisto, I don't think you see that species.
I believe they're called Nautilins. I think that's how you pronounce it.
You see him in I know you see him in the comic books, 2 of them.
Well, you're right, comic books, but I meant like on screen.
Oh yeah.
So
you know what's
really good actually. So
and what's interesting too is like obviously like there's no way you can really do it to where people won't find out. But my friend, he finished the campaign and everything before he finished that, and I was trying to get I didn't even notice at first because a lot of people are voiced by different people. But like if you guys didn't know, Tamara Morrison actually did voice Boba.
Yeah.
And it actually got spoiled for my friend because he was like, oh, I'm going to wait for the end credit scene. And I guess he watched through all of it and he saw it said voiced by Tamara. And I was like,
that happened to me.
Yeah, I told my friend, no, it's just like a hollow thing that you find that's like a little clip, like it's nothing. Like I tried to play it off, so but I'm like, that stinks if you really did like look and you see that. I'm like,
that was the hype going to Celebration, because when I got to talk to Matt Wood before the game came out, he was saying, oh yeah, and you might want to take your time and just smell the flowers as you go through. I'm like, well, what do you mean? He's like, you might hear a familiar voice. I'm not saying who.
Or 2.
And he did like one of those, and I'm like, oh yeah, there are droids in the trailer. You're gonna come back? And he's like, come on. He didn't say yes, but he's like one of these. I'm like, so then when I pieced together what he was meaning by that, I took my time through like when you first crash on Kobo, like the crash site. You see like the B1s like on the cliffside, just like, I hope I get promoted or something like that, and then you just force push them off like, and they have like conversations with each other. You know, it's awesome. I just sit there like in the outskirts before I even like alert them just to hear their conversation. The B2's like, I am your superior or something.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. Like the dialogue that they would have, like you were saying, like you would kind of just sit there because like it does that for the. I remember on Jeddah when you're, I forget, it's like right before that big like lobster octopus thing, like the droid lower thing. Yeah. I forget what it just looks like an octopus. But there's a stormtrooper and he's like sitting there. And I think he's the jetpack one, I want to say, but he was like thinking, he's like, man, he's like, I don't know if he was saying like the aerial combat was like the way to go. He's like, I could have been like he's like talking about all the like the different positions and stuff like that. He's like, but you can't beat this view though. And as soon as he said that, I force pushed him off the map, and he was like, I was just like, hey man, at least you got a nice view, I guess. I felt bad afterwards. I'm like, oh man, he was just sitting there enjoying the view, not hurting anybody.
I know. It's like a mixture of like, it's so satisfying to slice through droids or push them off a cliff, but then afterwards I'm kind of like, oh man, I kind of feel bad now. You know, that
was just screw that. They don't even know any. They don't have conscience.
You know what's cool though, and anyone who played Battlefront 2 and like played the multiplayer a lot, like obviously playing as Boba, they update eventually where like after you get force pitched, you can fly. And it was cool to see that, like, when you're fighting the jet troopers and you try to push them off a cliff, that they just fly back and then they come back. And I'm like, oh, like I hate, you know, obviously I love Boba Strike, but like I said, anyone who played Battlefront 2 hates Boba Fett. Like when you play heroes versus villains, that
dude, when it first came out, the anti-hero rockets can insta kill.
Oh, dude! I mean, there's so many things
Boba
broken
was
with
so
that game.
annoying.
Yeah, there's so many broken characters. Like,
But
so
back to the original question on favorite boss battles and stuff. I guess that big Camino drill thing could be considered a boss fight. But for me, mainly it was just all the legendary variants of the animals that you find throughout the game. I kind of the golden Skriton, the Biomar, whatever, the green one you find in the swamps. One of them most memorable for me was the Mire Terror, which is one of those Mogu Wampa things that you find in like the swamps. I figured out that in the dev cave, like the paint me like one of your French girls, Mogu, that's actually their idle stage. So like before you initiate that little boss fight, he's already laying down on the ground like that. So then he just gets up.
Well, because I think that's a female, if I'm remembering.
There are two in that boss fight. Yeah, there are two Mogu.
But like the boss one's like the female one, I guess.
The horns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that you get rewarded with a stim when you beat him though. So.
Oh yeah.
No, there's so many good boss fights. It's honestly hard for me to choose like just one because they were all unique and different in their own ways. But I guess even though I was very irritated with the boss fight in the beginning, mine probably had to be the third time you fight Dagangara, because like you said, it was kind of like that Doctor Strange feel. Like it wasn't just a typical like, okay, hack and slash and then you're done. Like it was like, no, it was phase after phase after phase. And he really kept me like on my toes. Like I had to be so quick to dodge so many attacks, because one attack that always got me was when he did like some force.
Oh, the waves? It was the
like
lines.
The waves, throw multiple of them after you, and I'm like, oh my gosh! Like I had to actually slow down the time, because if I didn't do it enough, all my health would just be killed. Like
I think that's the only way you can avoid those too, because you can just get stun locked, like constantly getting hit. Like that.
Yeah. But that fight was very fun and it was very enjoyable. And it was a moment where I thought Cal was actually going to die, because he gets slashed on the chest. And I'm like,
oh, yeah.
Oh, shoot. Like, it wasn't like, oh, like, okay, it's just my arm. Like, no, it was like directly on the chest. And I'm like, oh, God, don't.
And he's breathing heavy too. Like,
I mean, he did get stabbed in the first one.
Oh, gosh.
So yeah.
It was making me wheeze, because I'm like, oh, that stuff like that just makes me like not cringe, but like just sends chills down my spine. I can't handle it. Hearing someone like just suffer as they're dying, I'm like, oh no, don't kill off my boy, because I'm literally about to quit Star Wars. No, but just aside, that was a really intense boss fight, and it just was very enjoyable and fun.
Heck yeah. Charlie, I think you're the you're the last.
I know his answer.
I don't know. Because I knew how that would turn out. Because I was like, yeah, I'll just enjoy watching this. Rest in peace. But still, at the same time, good fight. But no, mine was watching that traitor get his butt handed to him. I enjoyed so much of that. One, because of, Tennessee at the time, you're just like, wow, what gives, dude? Did you actually just try and force push your daughter? So Bogue's final thing of get his comeuppance and everything, that was that's definitely it for me. One, because I was like, you killed this. Insert the phrase. Yeah, you killed my father. My
name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father.
Prepared to die. Thank you. I can't do a good thing of that. But the point is, yes, the point is, just that final one where he just gets his comeuppance, and you have like Marin throwing you through dimensions of Night Sister stuff.
I love that's what they see.
So
that's cool.
Just being that, and then you're like you said earlier, and everything like that. It's trying to do that, and screen goes black, and you're just like, fail. Unleash.
By the way,
all right.
Anyone else like not the first time?
Yeah, for sure.
I was like, no, I'm not turning to the dark side. Like, and then it's like, you died, respawn, like do the fight again.
On the opposite side too, I don't know about you guys, but as embarrassing as it is, like when you first fight Bode, like I didn't realize you couldn't stim. And like literally it was like a 20-second fight. I was like, I blocked a few and then he hit me and I was like, okay, that's his moveset. I went to stim. And then he just hit me again. I died. And I was like,
I got my shit rocked.
That just made me so much more rage induced towards him. I'm like, I got destroyed.
He's doing a reverse grip too with a red lightsaber. I'm like,
I'm like, I hate you.
Yeah, honestly, I feel kind of bad because like my favorite one doesn't have Cal in it. That Vader and Seer fight is like I don't know what it like just with the flames, him like basically just being. It reminded me of some of like Rebels too when they like throw those like AT-AT or ATSTs down on him and he just like moves through him and walks like it's just like you're not going to kill me. Like I am indestructible, you know, no matter how much I take. And honestly, at the end when he stabs her, I thought he was going to do like an OG like sacrifice move, but like not kill himself because he knows he can. Lightsabers don't mean anything. Everybody gets stabbed now. It's a thing. So he was just. I thought it would have been cool if he would have taken it in the like in the side and just stabbed her, and he would be like, "You lose," and then like I thought that would. I'm glad with what we got, but yeah, I kind of felt bad because I was just like, "Dang, my favorite fight it doesn't even have the main character in it."
Well, it was sad because the way she kind of stumbles back after getting stabbed, she falls on the ground.
Yeah.
It immediately transitions into as if Cal was already holding her.
Yeah.
But it makes you realize, okay, the fire around the background goes away, so everything's like, ashes. The fire has already happened. Like, he came too late. So that whole too late thing was just like...
I thought that was so cool, too, how, like, you always sense the Force echoes, and it's, like, a little 5-second little animation, but in reality, like, that's what he experiences. And then you got to, like, pretty much... That whole mission was a Force echo.
Yeah. And Mike, just like you said earlier, you know, it's a little bit tough for me to get attached to new things, especially like you just meet these new characters, Dagan, Ravis, and all of that. But I shed a little tear going down my cheek when I saw Cal crying like that. I'm like,
yeah, dude, Cameron Monaghan's like motion capture, the way that he did that
was
I can
raw.
only imagine
I felt that.
what he did for thinking about whatever he thought about doing that.
Oh, dude! Not to mention the ending when they're like doing like the Return of the Jedi like pyres, where like they're like burning, like they're doing like the Qui-Gon, like burning the Jedi, and like the because I think it was Bode, Seer, and Cardova, right? That was those, like, and it was just like you can kind of like see like he's just sitting there, and then everybody's like, I thought that was a really awesome interpretation, like not awesome, but like it was really well done about like how he's just kind of like time's like stopped for him. But everything around him's like moving like super fast, and like you can see like people are talking to him, but he's like totally zoned out. Like I don't know, there's something about that scene.
And had they done something different, none of those people at that funeral had to even die. If Bode never turned them in, Vader would have never killed Seer, and he would have never taken out Cordova out of fear.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know.
And you would have not gotten double tapped by Cal.
Yep. But if that twist wasn't there, you would have taken out Dagan and Ravis, and then that would have been the game, you know. So I understand. It makes that's why I prefer the little twist at the end too. It kind of draws it out.
And I will say there were like two particular moments where I felt emotional in two very different ways. So the first one was, or I guess there are more, but those two like stand out to me. First one is a positive one, is because sort of like the actual manifestation of the romance between Cal and Marin. I thought that moment was just very well done, and it's just a very heartfelt moment, like the sort of first kiss, and then the two of them fighting the big thing, and like Cal's going through the portal. It's like badassery, like pure. I thought that was really well done, and just that whole twist of sort of like, I always go back to in like the Book of the Jedi. There's like all these comments by Jedi that own the book. It's sort of like a sketch thing, but there's a comment by Qui-Gon, and it's like in the passage of like attachment. And it's sort of like I love that passage because it's sort of like it's so Qui-Gon, because he basically says like, if the living force is what causes like Jedi or really any being to feel love, how can it be wrong to sort of just be open to love? And you can really tell how much safer Cal feels about also just his dark side in that sense, like having someone that keeps him in check and that just knows him and gives him comfort. So that was the really like heartwarming moment for me that I really enjoyed. I think that relationship is a really good one. And then the other one was, on that one I shed a tear just because I thought it's just so tragic, and like the way they did it is so brilliant, but it's like really tragic. Is when, gosh, I forgot her name. The small kid,
Kala.
Yeah, Kara. Yeah, thank you. when they're like burning the three bodies, when she walks up to her dad and like puts her toy there. I don't know that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like the way they did it, it caught me off guard, and I thought it was just the most tragic and sad thing ever. Like just like no matter how sort of twisted he was in the end, but that's her dad, or like the only person. Yeah. So
what kind of threw that off for me though was when you go back after all of that happens and you find the echoes, and it's like Bode monologuing, and he's like, I got those two idiots to fall in love. Who would have thought, you know?
That wasn't you, buddy.
I would like to add to those scenes as well, because I was already attached to these characters so much from Fallen Order, but I knew going into the get-go that Jedi Survivor was going to be a very emotional story. I just didn't expect it to be on that level of emotional. Like, I knew there was going to be tears. I knew I was going to be heartsick, but seeing the fact that we see Cal go through the Force echo of seeing Seer die, like he literally felt her life force like leave. Like he literally just watched her die, and he just broke down and started crying, and that got me. I was just an absolute mess. My family walked in on me and they're like, "You good?" And I'm like,
"You're like, no,
like, get out!"
You know, like we cry so hard, like you're trying, like you think you're done crying, but the tears just keep like coming out, like you just can't stop crying, like no matter how hard you try. Like that was me. And then we get to the funeral scene, and Cal's just like, "You saved my Braca." I'm like, stop. Like just hitting all the feels. What hit me I don't know why of all the lines he said, this one hit me the hardest, where he's like, "I don't know if I'm ready. Like, I don't know if I'm ready for what comes next," because, you know, he's like, "I basically don't know if I can raise Kata and lead this Jedi Order and help the hidden path. Like, I don't know if I'm capable of doing this, because I almost lost myself and caved into the dark side." And I think that's kind of that was kind of Cal's low point in his life, but also a spark of hope, because Seer comes to him as a Force ghost, and she's like, "Cal, like guide her through the darkness, like basically teach her what you went through, like guide her, like show her the way, because you came out of your trauma stronger than ever. So just show her what you went through, like how you overcame it." Sorry, I don't know why that was so hard for me to say it, but it was just so powerful and so moving. And then even when he looks down at her lightsaber one last time and walks off, and then the credits roll up, I remember just more hysterical tears, and the first words that came out of my mouth were just, "Wow, like what a powerful story." Like it just shows that, you know, adulthood is not easy, and growing up in a crazy dark time like that, I just can't even imagine how difficult it must be. And there's just so many themes and so many messages in there that just hit home. And even if it's just little things, like, you know, change is hard, and like, you know, Cal has to adapt to Tanalorr now and kind of leave his past behind, and that can go for anyone. Like it can be as simple as like someone like saying, "I'm changing career plans and I'm nervous about this," or "I'm moving," or, you know, anything. Like there's something that we can all find in these games and these stories to relate to, even if it's just something as little as that. And that's just what makes these stories like Star Wars. Like it feels like the classic George Lucas stories, and it's just amazing to see it come like that in a video game, because we haven't had that in years, like since like the Force Unleashed and the Old Republic games. Like kudos to Respawn, really.
Yeah, I agree.
Ditto.
But can we talk on the Seer Force Ghost thing? I couldn't get this in my okay. So okay, I understand what they were doing with that scene too, but personally, I think it's more of a hallucination, like kind of like the end of the Dagon Gera fight, because I don't really know if it really makes too much sense of her becoming a Force Ghost, because where would if she have learned that? I don't know if anything in the archives could have taught that, because if so, then a lot of the Jedi in the Clone Wars would have been Force ghosts too. And even like Charlie was saying too, this is right after Kenobi. And Obi-Wan, he's still learning with Qui-Gon. I don't know within that time if somehow that word got to them. I don't know even if how that would be possible, but it just seems unlikely to me, more so that it's kind of like one of those real life scenarios where you just see someone in something like really click, but then you like double take and then they're gone. You know, it's like one of those, you still feel connected to them moments.
Yeah. I will say, honestly, I didn't even think that it was a Force ghost like in the moment, like just because of the way it's like, you know, everything's moving fast, and like she's sort of, because I mean she also doesn't have like the blue glow, like it's not the Force ghost look. So I just sort of interpreted like more like him reminiscing over Seer and sort of concentrating on what would Seer tell him, slash like sort of what would she do, and sort of just reminding himself of what she would want him to do.
That's what brings out the Luke in Cal that I see, because he even says out loud, like, you taught me how to become the best of them, you know, like, and he's really kind of respecting that path.
Yeah.
Making subtle, even throughout the game, like just playing it naturally, making subtle changes and interactions he has with people, the word choices that he has. He's like, diagnosing the situations that he's in pretty well, and like handling them like a Jedi rather than giving into something crazy. But a few times that does happen, because we see him embrace the dark. His slow ability turns into dark side rage, which is pretty cool.
Well, it's cool too to see, because obviously in the first one he's like a kid and he's being mentored and kind of like, you know, oh, do this, okay, and like obviously he has his journey, but he's like very much guided, versus in this one, like he's like the leader of the group, like he gets back the whole team. He's the one that's like, we're gonna do this, and obviously like he loses all these people on the way, even like the side characters, like in the on Coruscant, like his friends, like, and everything like that. And it's cool to see him grow as a character in the sense of just taking on that leadership role, and him being like, all right, I am a Jedi now, and like I'm the leader of this, and like I gotta fully take charge. And now he has no choice other than to do that, because he's the only one left.
Yeah, another little fast side note for me. Kind of heartbreaking, because I know it does for a lightsaber. But him losing his master's original lightsaber was like, no, and everything like that, because Order 66. That little pod and everything, and trust in the Force, bam, gives him that. They go to that, cut, everything. You're like, oh, okay, that's it. And fast forward to this, and whenever that gets taken out, it's like, man, this dude's losing everything. So literally by that certain points at this, is he gonna go dark, or is he gonna, you know? So yeah, so it's just good. Just I've spoken. It was awesome, sad, awesome, sad.
Well, I kind of want to talk, because we're at about like an hour, almost an hour and a half, and there's I want to talk a big chunk about there's a big thing about the gameplay and the features, because I think that's a lot of like what is awesome about the story's awesome, don't get me wrong, but they really stepped it up. So I want to go through that a little bit real fast, because like I said, it's an important part. How did you guys feel about all the? I thought they like I am crazy about customization. Like that's like one of my number one things in games, when like you can customize stuff. Like, oh man, that's like that does it for me. So
I'm like, oh man.
But how did you guys feel? Because like I thought it was like the perfect level of like I wasn't like, oh man, I wish they had more of this or more of that. Like I felt between like the saber, BD, your gun, your outfit, heck, even like the facial hair and the fact that you could make him look like he was like America, you know, with the big old handlebar mustache and the mullet, dude. Like, oh man, I was loving those edits on TikTok and stuff like that, where they were putting all the guys are talking in like the country boy accents and be like, my name's Cal Kestis and I'm here to do something, you know.
I don't know, man. I gave him that bandana on the long hair with the Viking beard and then a pink gun. So, I mean, it really goes all down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, I totally
you lost
agree.
me at the pink gun, but everything else I had. Yeah.
Yeah, the customization was awesome. I'm the same way. I'm like, I need to customize. That makes it like you, like as a character. And I will say, like the first game, Fallen Order, you know, it had cool customization like lightsabers, but in this one, you could make some sick. Like I was like, dude, this lightsaber's bad. Like I spent so much time on the workbench with every color and everything switching around, and yeah, that definitely made it a lot for me. I rocked like all the commando armor with like all blue and white everything, and that was sick. You can get Beskar. Them adding the Beskar was like super sick. Having like all Beskar BD or a lightsaber is really cool.
I mean, unlike the first game, Survivor kind of rewards you for actually spending 13 hours scanning something, right? You can find those customizations. Inquisitor paints, and, you know, a bunch of different raw like material found on those planets, which was pretty awesome. Yeah. And it's a nice switch up too. Like, oh, I'm feeling yellow, and then I just completely change the outfit. Boom, cyan. And if you listen closely, they all have a different sound to the humming too, which is a nice little touch. So yeah, they really went all out with that, and it was really cool to see and play through that.
Yeah, I think for this game, it was like, as Max said, like just the right amount of like customization. I think there were a lot of options, but it didn't get like too much. I would say, like, for instance, like for like the upcoming game, like Outlaws, it would have to be more. I think this would be like minimum, like bare minimum. But yeah, I think for this game, for this type of game, I think it was like just the sweet spot. And I agree with JT. Like, I think that would have been something that would have like sort of annoyed me a lot in Fallen Order, or I would have just not done it. But like, I think sort of having those collectible boxes in places where you need to sort of work your way towards it, and then be rewarded with like a piece of clothing or the color for the clothing, or like parts for blasters, lightsabers, I think is a great touch. It
didn't feel like in the way though, you know, because this game really, like, it fixed a lot of the issues the first game had with the first game, you unlocking double jump later. I mean, that's super annoying. That limits the player, right? I want to have double jump right off the bat, just like this game. The ability to climb. You get all the lightsaber colors right off the bat. I was a sucker, and I bought the premium digital version of Fallen Order so I can get the orange color, and I was like, yeah, I got orange.
And then they give it to us.
And then, they not only do that later, but
I did the same
your
thing.
Lightsaber colors at the end of the game. Like, no, I want to be rocking purple the whole time, right? So
I'll say this: on the first playthrough, I was doing it boring. We barely changed anything, sort of for the immersion, but yeah. No, definitely. Now that I've played through it, it's like really cool. Like then going with like yellow and like you know, all that fun stuff. Yeah.
Real quick, JT touched on, and Mike, I'll let you go right after. But I like that a lot of games, when they introduce the next game, something happens where like the player has like amnesia, or they forget how to do something. Like this game doesn't do that, and I respect the hell out of it because I hate that. I'm like really, I have to relearn like the double jump or something it's just. I don't know. I really hate that in games. Like, it's just like, it makes me feel like I'm like, okay, like that Michael Scott quote where he's like, okay, explain it to me like I'm 5. He's like, okay, explain it to me like I'm 3. You know, I'm like, dude,
it makes me not want to play the game because I'm like, oh, here's the part where I gotta do this challenge and learn double jump. You know, this is that section of the game. You know,
and I like that they added more. Like, you know, you got the grapple and the dash, and then the dash through the, you know, there's so much more to it. So I just wanted to add that in there. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Mike, because I know you were right in the middle of.
No, you're good. I was just going to add on to what they were saying is I don't like having to go back for stuff. And that's one thing they also didn't do like in this, or that they did in both Fallen Order and Survivor, is like, of course, like if you explore enough, you can find everything. But I remember, like I said, I spent like 100 hours on this game, like scouring everything. And later in the end of the game, like the second or third to last mission, you get like the map pack where you can see the chests. There was so many I didn't find, and I'm like I want to complete this, and yeah, and having to go back and find them, it was fun, but I'm like, a lot of them you just miss, and I'm like, okay, I've been here like 10 times, and now I got to go back there again, and then do the whole parkour. So yeah, about getting all the stuff, it was a little iffy. Like, it wasn't a big problem because there was so much stuff. Like, at the end of the day, I had all the stuff I wanted, like, before finding everything.
Yeah.
But that also kind of adds to it as well. It's like, okay, I went back to get like a color that I'm never going to use.
But that's the neuron activation. Like, you get that map upgrade and you see all those collectibles you didn't get. You're like, ooh, where do I start?
Yeah.
And you run around like a goblin. Fire red shard. Nice. Forest tier, and they do the challenge.
I also particularly like the chests that would include like an entire lightsaber, like Cordova's or Sears lightsaber. It's like, ooh, because those usually had like some of the coolest parts. So that was also really cool. Kind of like, if you wanted to, you could sort of give your lightsaber like some history, like, oh, I'm gonna include this part of Sear or Cordova to sort of keep them in memory. So I think that is, I mean, just part of the huge customization aspect of the lightsabers and blasters. I think they really nailed that.
The customization, building your own lore was really cool, because that kind of puts in the player's mind, like, oh, this could have happened in like off screen. Like, I know there was a book in between the games, right? So this could have happened.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, what Mike was saying about like going back and collecting stuff, it wasn't annoying. Like, I know games can really be annoying. They're like, hey, you missed all this stuff. Would you like a new game plus? And then you got to do it all over again or something.
Yeah.
This was more like, you're satisfied with you've already collected, so you're not obligated to. But it's just it is satisfying going back and getting that stuff,
and like having to go back and get it.
but like some ability, like I recommend completing the game right off the get go to begin with, and then doing that anyways, because like you unlock an ability later on with some sort of levitating move. That you have to open these like red X doors with, which open new areas. So,
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, there are some things like, even like, you know, like the charm that you get from Marin, like jumping through the green wall. It's not such like a common one, but I know there are some places where if you would have probably like went to explore that, then you would have been like sort of like, well, shit, I guess I'll come back to that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think for the most part, I think it's just a good idea to probably like play through it, get all the abilities, and then explore.
Yeah.
I mean,
Going back to what we said though, with like having all of the abilities right at the start of the game, like I didn't feel limited. We got double jump and all that, and then you get like that portal dash ability where it like refreshes your dash, just like the Force Unleashed. As soon as I got that dash, I was like a kid in a candy store. I was zooming through the entire game. Yeah, just
I have no idea how fast I am.
Yeah, and I don't know if it counts as customization, but I don't know if it'll get brought up, and it's something that I spend so much time doing, is how you can scan the characters and then use them on the holo table.
Oh, 100%. We're getting to that. We're getting to that. Fuck it. Let's go into it. We'll go into that, because I was gonna. I'll save the next question I was gonna ask. We'll go to we'll jump straight into the cantina. I really like the amount of like. You don't really have to upgrade the cantina and do anything, but like if you do, it does make it cool. Like having the music, having Scuba Steve, which is definitely a rip-off of Scuba Steve from what is it? What's that movie called with Adam Sandler?
Big Daddy.
Yeah, where he dishes up a Scuba Steve. I was like, okay. I was like, I see you guys.
I love that he's got like a dwarven Scottish accent.
Yeah, he's like, I'm Scuba Steve. Dude, he's hard to get on the holo table too. He's a master in the holo table.
So when I 100%ed it, I just looked up a tutorial on how to win every time, and it still wasn't even guaranteed, because it's like a random chance, right? Of what the
grenade do. They always blow up your own dudes.
Pretty much. Yeah, I mean, pretty much in the battles where you would have enough points, like I would just put in like the big scorpion thing, because it literally doesn't take damage from shit. Like it's just like shielding, and then it's like killing everything.
Oh yeah. For sure, man. That
Other,
was
other,
cool.
other than that, if it's cheaper, Purge Trooper. Purge Trooper always
They win
gets
every time.
Yeah.
Purge Trooper
Yeah.
Commander just one-shot snipes them from the back.
Dude, the droidicas were OP.
Oh yeah, Droidicas are good too.
Yeah,
for sure.
Droidicas were great. I love the holo table tactics game. Like I would just spend hours just playing that. Like I would get so distracted. I'm like, let me just play this little mini game. Like let me just see what it is. And then it's like an hour, 2 hours later, and I'm just trying to get all the little items you get from winning the games. And I liked that you had to go back and fight certain enemies to upgrade your chances of winning it. It was just a really nice little Easter egg too from episode 4.
I like how they tricked us into playing a mobile game on console.
Dude, they need to make that a mobile game.
Dude, I'm 100%. It'd be better than that whatever Galaxies of Heroes that they have right now. It'd be way better than that. But you know what it reminded me of, and maybe some of you guys, because I know some of you guys have played Red Dead, but like it reminded me of the first Red Dead game where I would just go to like, I don't know, like Mexico or whatever, and I would just sit at the table and play blackjack for like hours on end. Like
that was great.
And like,
man, you were a different Red Dead player than I was. I was typing in the pimp my wagon cheat code, and my horse wagon got hydraulics. I was flying around the map.
Did a little bit of that too. The having the zebra donkey be like freaking like the Flash and stuff like that. Good stuff. But they gave me a little bit of that nostalgia that Red Dead had. So I do like those little mini games. But yeah, I thought the level of customization throughout the whole game was really cool. The different music. I like that they brought back. I believe that they're called the Who or the Hun.
Yeah,
from the first game.
The Mongolian throat singer stuff.
Oh, wow, that was good.
But
accurate.
It was cool to get all the, I didn't get all the music, but I got a couple tracks and stuff like that. It was cool. I like that.
Well, even the things that you can buy, like when you buy them with the collectibles, you get through the game, but you don't feel limited. Like, oh, I need this much more to get it. You'll get it in no time. Like there's so much throughout the game, and you can just choose what you want right off the get-go. Like you don't have to buy 5 hairstyles to unlock the one you want.
Yeah,
there's no
true.
prerequisite.
I mean, it's also, I think it was a fun idea, sort of, that you have to like find people or like sort of, hire them to, or like, guide them in the direction of like, hey, you should go to the saloon. Yeah. And then sort of like by you exploring the map and finding more people, like the saloon would have more to offer. I think that was actually a pretty nice idea.
Heck yeah.
And I think I just remembered, and so before I forget, I think I want to mention that one of, I think, the funniest encounters that I've had on Kobo, pretty much right next to Saloon, is like, I don't remember exactly what you have to do to get there, but there's this like freaky sort of shop, and when you enter, you can like talk to this weird dude. And then you can sort of like enter, like, go, I don't remember what the story is, but like you enter sort of into his cellar, and then there's like,
he kills brother
with all the droid gangs.
And then he starts fighting you, and it's
he's
like really weird. It's like,
I don't think I ever did that.
Now that moment there had one of the few moments in the game where you're able to pick which direction in the dialogue you want to go.
Right.
Like a Telltale game, kind of like try to change the outcome. But it didn't really work in this game because you kind of got the same thing either way. It really just determined like how long it would take for you to fight something that would come eventually.
Yeah, I kind of wish they didn't add that in there because like they only do it a couple of times, and like you were saying, like that's my biggest thing with like the new Star Wars Outlaws is because like they're like, oh, you can pick like the whatever you say, you can be like screw the Empire, or, like pay them, I'm like, man, that's gonna
if you're gonna advertise open world,
but that's gonna be detrimental because like then I don't know if you guys have been hearing about the new Baldur's Gate game that just came out, but like has like ridiculous amounts of dialogue. Like one thing that happens at the beginning, like you can like say like an old lady was getting mugged or something like that. Like you can like help her or like let her die or whatever, and then she'll escape. And then like later on in the story, turns out she's like a wicked witch or something like that. And if you didn't help her, she would like turn you into a toad or something, like something along those lines where it actually has effect. Like I feel like if you're gonna give dialogue options, it needs to be something like
Mhm.
that where it actually has dramatic consequences down. And I feel like in this game, it was just like, hey, we just want to throw this mechanic in here. Just
You're going
Yeah, I
stealth
will
as an
say-
Imperial officer, and you come up to one guy guarding the door, and you're like, I'll put in a good word for Dunvik. He's like, oh, Dunvik, I like that name. Come right in.
I will say I absolutely used every single option to talk to Boba. Definitely.
yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Big shocker.
I kept going back.
He's like, we're not friends. Get
He
out of
was
here.
basically saying, Cal, if you don't leave, I will put another kill stripe of a Jedi on my helmet. Like, fuck you.
he's like, don't get me wrong. He's like, we're not friends. He's like, I don't like you.
We're not
He's
friends.
like, get out.
You're not my bounty, but I'll make an exception.
I also like how, I mean, that whole scene, I will say, like, it that was just such a joy because it was so well done. I mean, just Tamora Morrison's voice, obviously, like him reprising the role, but also just the movements and how the scene plays out, just perfect. But I also love how Cage, I mean, Cal has like no idea who he is, but Cage is sort of like, Cal, he's not exactly a Friends of Jedi, you know?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah,
Boba's
thing
just
to
like
do.
saying that would be an understatement. It's like,
The way Cage said to Boba when he flew in, she's like, Boba, it's been a while. That was kind of like Han Solo talking to Jabba. Like, about
Yeah.
yeah. And then Boba's just like looking at her.
Yeah, I like how he gets like shot and it doesn't even like phase him. He's just like, okay. He's like, what else you got? But I'm curious to I kind of want to go around the round table and hear what your favorite stance was throughout the game, like which one you liked the best, and then what color lightsaber you guys used. I was personally, I'm a double blade guy. I like the double blade. The Sidious kind of launch forward where you're spinning it and good jumping forward was sick, and then obviously purple for me. But I want to hear what you guys used.
That double-bladed staff move you're talking about, the spin forward, that's the exact same animation from Maul's in Battlefront 2.
Yeah.
It's just short.
Is it really?
Yeah. He jumps like half the distance, but it's the same.
Maul's range is crazy.
But blaster stance. I love being able to fight normal single blade and just pull a quick shoot droid off the ledge or something like that.
He's like just the entire time like, I'm
gonna get you. I tried to use it on that stupid little droid that holds like the collectibles or something. He's like digging, and then you have to chase him. I tried shooting him, but it never works.
I know.
What color did you use for the?
I was like a purple, yeah, pretty much the whole time, like an indigo purple, whatever it was.
Let's go.
But a pink gun, pink gun.
No hate.
Barbie predicted.
Said I'm Knuff on the side.
Yeah, I also used the double bladed. Like a huge shout out to the cross bladed because I just think it's so cool that they added that. Obviously, Kylo like kind of biased. I think it was really fun to use, but the double bladed was just so versatile. Like I think it was pretty OP, but super versatile. You could have like if you tap RT or you tap attack, like it has one move set, and if you hold it, it has another move set, and then
dude, that throw that he does.
Yeah, you can do the double throw. You can go straight into the like.
You can fly around your body too, like double bladed, right?
Yeah,
you like throw it, and then he catches it, and then he throws it again, but he throws it further than the first time. So it's like a double wave of just.
Well, on top of that, you can. I think it was a double blade. You can just hold it like flying, and it'll just hit people.
Yeah, I think that's one of the abilities. Yeah.
That was pretty cool,
for sure. And what color did you use?
I used Scion. Like Scion, I love Scion. Yellow is like always my technically like my crystal color, but I just did everything like all my colors for everything was matching Scion and white, so that was pretty sick.
Very cool. Very cool.
I was playing basically the entire game just single blade and dual wield, and just boring blue. Just kept the blue for story immersive purposes. But yeah, I think I don't know. I just really enjoy just the OG single blade. I almost wish. I think that's like the only thing that first of all, I'm so happy every time that in a game they give you the option to I'm happy that you have the option to deactivate your lightsaber like with a key. I wish you would be able to just like also just deactivate the lightsaber but still hold the hilt, like sort of like in Battlefront you can do that. And I would hope I would wish if you don't have like the double bladed lightsaber equipped, that he would like sort of store the lightsaber hilts like next to each other and not like as one big hilt. I think that would be cool. But yeah, so dual wield and just single blade was that for me. Dual wield is super fun sometimes, like just because of the rapid attacks you can throw at someone.
And the posing, dude, like how he like does all his like sabers and throwing them, and like he like, dude, he's on it.
Yeah, with dual wield, you kind of feel like a gunslinger just in Jedi, like sort of the way he's like, if you finish him and then you just sort of put it away, it's like,
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I have to agree. My favorite stances were the single blade with the blaster, because again, I just love blasting droids off a cliff. And I loved the dual wield. I remember when I first saw that in the trailer, I literally like jumped out of my chair and started screaming because I was so excited, because the first thing that went in my head was like, oh, I'm going to be like Ahsoka and actually dual wield. And the fact that we got the white blade too, I was like, bro, Ahsoka 2.0, like, let's go. I was just very hyped up for it. Those are the two stances I use the most. I kept switching between the white crystal, but my go-to, the white crystal and the cyan one, but my go-to is definitely cyan, because I don't know why. I just love that color so much. It's like a nice neutral blue.
The cyan was like a Luke blue, kind of like Empire.
Yeah, a little bit.
I hope, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's why I liked it, because it kind of reminded me of Luke. He's like my second favorite character, or Jedi of all time. But yeah, I had such a blast using those stances. Like even some of the finishes, like with Cal, when you would finish them with the dual
finishes are sick.
Oh my god, they would just be so satisfying, and I'm like, man, I gotta do that again. Like I would respawn enemies just so I could see those stances again.
I've never seen another game kind of like Doom where you get an enemy low on health and then it just like does a cool animation. Like the B2 battle droids, like you roll over his back like that, and then you just do like a downward strike and you just kind of like Resident Evil when the dude gets caught in the laser room and he gets diced up. The way he just slides off of his own body.
I remember that.
That was awesome.
Have you guys seen the dismemberment mod someone made for it?
Yes,
I did. Yeah,
that's crazy.
A lot of arms.
Talking about satisfying. Yeah.
Well, that was one of the things that like I think we kind of all were sad because we got in the Force Unleashed 2, like you could just like dice people in the Force Unleashed 2. Like there was like nothing that was safe, and like they didn't. It's not as extreme in this game as that, but they did like you can chop people's arms and like heads are rolling and all that stuff. So I think they definitely did a little bit better with the dismemberment sometimes, unless like the saber's almost like a baseball bat. Because I feel like that's been a lot of like, not even just in like video games and stuff like that. I feel like Saber haven't really felt like Saber. Yeah, when he's like beating the crap out of the troopers, he's like, I'm like it's not a bat, bro. Like you just whoosh, done. It's like a samurai sword. You slice and you're done. You know, like
I mean, with the saber, like an SABR, you would like hack, but it's plasma. You gotta get that through your head. Yay! Come on.
I mean, we literally saw it when the stormtrooper fell on that like laser fence.
Yeah, and it sliced him in half.
Cut in half.
Charlie, I know you. I know you didn't play the game, but if you were to play the game, what stance would you use and what color would you pick?
I don't know what color I would use for some reason. I don't know why, but definitely, it might be green. Yes, of course, it'd be green.
Green looks pretty good.
Green saber staff all the way. You can't just no. Saber staff.
Charlie, it's funny how they made the crossguard the weakest of the stances. The slowest.
I would have figured that was going to be your pick. I know how much you love the crossguards, so like I figured that was.
I mean, it is the strongest
same whitware yet.
Power.
They force you to go through that hallway when you first like discover it. They force you to go through the hallway to take out enemies.
It's just holding it up so slow, dude. Like it's so like I get it. It's supposed to be arranged, but I'm just like, bro. If it takes me like, I can't even imagine playing it on like the Jedi Master or whatever the hardest one is with crossguard. Like because like the windows to parry and stuff like that are like minuscule on that. Like I'm sure I'm preaching the choir with Sarah because she's the one freaking going through that right now. But like trying to get through that corridor with a pass. It's cool. I like the idea that they were trying to do with it. Like it's cool. It's just so slow. Like the range doesn't equate for how slow it is. It's just like you're going slow motion and you're like swinging.
I would like to double the speed on all of the single bladed sabers that they have. I'd like the single bladed just standard to have a quicker animation, right? And then the cross guard to be like the speed that the normal one has now.
Yeah, the cross guard is like definitely too slow, but I will say like out of physical, like literal personal experience with Kylo's saber, like I know everyone hates on like the fights in the sequels because it's slow and like they could have done a little better, but like having a normal saber I can like do a bunch of stuff, but having this thing, it's like his moveset and everything is spot on because this thing is so freaking hard to spin and everything. You just can't do it. It's really difficult. So I'm happy they got that like right. Like how he was using it, especially him not knowing how to use it. Obviously, he like wouldn't be as good as Kylo, who trained with it. So I think they got that pretty good.
Heck yeah. Well, I wanted to talk. I had a few more things, but we're like almost at 2 hours right now, so I'm gonna trim some stuff. But I'm curious because I personally didn't use them like at all, and that's the perks. Mm-hmm. Did you guys use the perks at all? Because I like at the beginning when they like show, like they show them, I picked like the first like couple ones that they give you, and then I never touched them again.
Yeah, I mean, just throughout exploring and stuff, you get different perks, and then unlocking perk slots so you can have more like taking up. But I wasn't really focused on that. I just put on the one like increases the chance of you breaking their block just by normally attacking them or something. So
I don't remember exactly which ones, but I pretty much focus on ones that like gave you like more stamina and like more abilities, because in the first game I don't know if maybe I was like playing it wrong or something, but I was like always drained from my abilities all the time. And one thing I loved about this one is you can like spam your abilities like crazy and like pretty much always be able to use them. So once you add that on top of it, it was just a lot more fun because it was, instead of just like mashing the keys and do the same thing, you could really like be super selective on what you do to people. And that was fun, being able to go from the Force to different lightsaber moves and stuff. So that I liked them. I liked that they added them because it gave it a bit more like intrigue into what I can do with my abilities.
Yeah, I mean, I think I pretty much like mainly like equipped like things like like adding another slot for like perks, and there's also like one I think that's like along the lines of like you gain more experience every time, sort of passively. Like pretty much I think I equipped like all of the ones that don't really require me to do anything, like the passive ones. But I think they are probably pretty useful. I think. At least to some extent. But I think you're also not really missing out if you don't use them, so...
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, because I started with like the base... I don't even remember what the base ones were, but like I started and I never changed them throughout the whole playthrough. Like I was just like, meh, like I don't know. And I didn't really see any like major difference, you know, and I guess you don't, like most of them are just kind of like, I feel like they're almost like icings on the cake sort of thing. Like you can still play the game with them. Yeah.
When it comes to ability personalization, I was more focused on the skill tree than the actual perks.
Which also was very good, I thought. I thought their skill trees were like it wasn't so much first game where it overwhelms you, but it's like enough to where it gives you enough variety, which I thought was cool.
You can choose what stance and like I don't know where you want it to go more so than like the first game where it's like there's a lot more prerequisites because it's only one tree, right? So you can kind of just scroll and be like, ooh, I want to see what that combo is. I'm gonna save up for that, and oh, that's an awesome move. I'm gonna use that the whole game, you know. So.
I also didn't use a lot of mind tricks either. Like I noticed that like my skill tree like has nothing on mind tricks. Like I didn't do like tricking your foes or anything like that. I was more like a slice first, blast first, ask questions later sort of.
That was another control that I lost, so I never touched it.
Oh, you couldn't do like the dang.
No, I had to switch it when it was like you had to do it. So I had to like go into my control and switch it. It's like,
there was a trophy that you needed to get for like platinum, I guess, on PlayStation that you needed to
like attack the same person or something. Like
no, that was one
trick?
of them. But I'm talking about the. It was an ability I didn't even know was a thing because you only use it like once during the Masana Tide Inquisitor fight, which is where you do like a force thing, and then he's like standing still doing this, and his lightsaber's floating, and there's like a blue hue around the screen.
that's a perfect block.
Yeah, he just like basically auto dodges whatever comes at him, and it's like something about doing that, and then immediately after it happens, you have to time it perfectly, doing like a combo strike or something like that. You had to do it like 100 times, I think. I don't know what it was, but I never used it besides getting the trophy. So
yeah, I think I accidentally sometimes like tried using it, but then I think I usually always like fucked it up for some reason. I
like,
don't know.
nah, too hard.
Yeah, too hard.
Yeah.
Well, when you're in the heat of battle and then you got to hit like whatever it is, like for me it was like RB, and then you got to hit like the down button. It's too much stuff. I just want to slash at things. I want to hack and slash.
Well, that was a good thing. I mean, at least we keep going back to the Force Unleashed, but that was one of the nice things I liked about the combo system in that game, especially in the second game with how quick you can activate them. It's like ta 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 ta, and he goes crazy, right?
Speaking of the Force Unleashed, how did you guys like the rage? Because it was very much like the power up from Force Unleashed 2, where he's just like he goes all crazy and does that. So how did you guys like the I thought it was really cool, dude. Honestly, I abused the crap out of it because I told you guys I was doing the bounty hunter missions today. So like I would save it up, and as soon as the bounty hunter missions, I would just like activate it, go for the main guy, and just like pop 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 pop, because I was like, I don't want to. I'm tired of this, Grandpa. How many freaking bounty hunter missions they send you? But yeah, it's OP, especially going through like I forget what the base is called, the Imperial base, and you're just wrecking everybody. Like that was so cool.
There's like 7 like security, like massive security droids, and it's like you one shot them.
They got a lot of health, yeah. Okay. But I mean that goes back to what I was saying earlier about I recommend completing the game first and then coming back, because using that rage ability, it just like triples your damage, take out any of the mini bosses, in like a couple hits. It's easy. Whereas if you don't unlock that and you do what I do and try to fight Ogdo Bogdo with a blaster stance and no abilities, you'll be sitting there for a good half an hour just trying to figure out.
I was sitting there for a lot longer than that.
And then the frog judges you. The little toad guy judges you at the end.
Dude, like, I always go to Galaxy's Edge and I look at that. I just stand and look at that dude, that frog thing in the glass case, and I'm just like, it's so cool, that little frog, them adding that, because I feel like it added so much more to that little part in Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah, exactly. Like once you beat Ogdo, it's like then this frog thing you inspect, and it's like it's judging me.
Yes, that's the best.
You go into one of the force tiers, and they're like mini challenge arenas, I guess, and one of them had both Ogdo Bogdo and the spawn of Ogdo Bogdo.
That's what I was about to ask. I'm like, did you guys beat that? Because I tried it and I got whooped, and I was like, never again.
You get the dark side ability, man. You get all your skills unlocked and everything. It's like easy. I'm like, I wish I had this when I fought the one.
I beat it right after I beat him, so it took me like 2 hours to do those 2 fights. They wasn't
with the Rancor. The Rancor is the same issue about learning his abilities. So it was really glitchy, which is the thing that pissed me off the most, because a lot of the abilities, even though you dash, they still like hone in on you. Like the Rancor did one of these arm ground pound things that cause a shockwave, but there's like a window that you can dodge out of it that it tells you can, right? But when you dodge, the Rancor just does one of these, like it just hones in on where you dodge and it insta-kills you. So
I will say one of the things that I think I actually dislike, almost hate in Jedi Survivor is like the tier mission stuff where it's parkour.
Yeah, I didn't mind that. I didn't mind the grapple course one where you had to go back and forth.
There were courses where I don't know if I'm just retarded, but literally like there were times when I had it was like difficult to do it, and then like at some point I didn't even know where to go anymore. Like sort of I I continued, and then there was like nothing, and then I was like, shit, and then like I jumped or like got hit by a laser beam. It's like I raged a lot of times. I had to stop the game a few times there.
but it kind of makes up for it because there are some forest tiers where it's just like take out 150 battle droids running at you, and I'm like,
Oh, yeah.
Like bet.
we're ready.
Well, what's cool?
What?
I'm assuming you guys noticed, like in the parkour levels, there was the I don't know what I'm reading, but the Clone War era's Star Destroyers, like floating around.
Venators?
The Venators, yeah. I was like, that's just such a cool little detail.
This game could have had nothing, and it could have just been Cal Kestis going through the Lucrehulk, slashing down droids in the hallways.
Amazing.
That would have been enough for me. Everything else is icing on the cake because I grew up on a PS1 playing Jedi power battles, and being on a Lucrehulk, cutting down B1s and droidicas and stuff. That's
There's something about having a lightsaber and fighting droids. Like I don't know what it is. It's just like being like I was like I need more of this. Like I don't know if there needs to be like another Clone Wars game or something.
I need
like
a whole game of just Lucrehulk exploration,
let's just play
hand.
A Jedi that we haven't played as, like some random Jedi on some random planet, and then you just have to deal with that during the Clone Wars. That'd be amazing, you know.
Even the Revenge of the Sith video game, like it takes off of the movie, and you're going through the ship.
Can we get a remaster of that, please? Totally off topic, but that game needs to be remastered with today's graphics. Like the gameplay is great. Like it's some of the Nemoidians at the end are a little questionable. They're very frustrating, but besides that, the game is great. You know. But to kind of wrap this up because we're already at the 2-hour marker, I kind of want to know what you guys we'll go in a line down the line. What you guys would rate this game out of 10, and then also what you would want to see for the next game. And we'll kind of leave it at that.
Who's first?
We can go down the line maybe again so everyone gets there. Sure.
Let's do it. Strike, you want to go first?
Yep. So I think I would give it, I think, a solid let's be friendly. Good Star Wars game, good sequel to a really good Star Wars game. 9 out of 10. I think for the most part, just like the experience, I think lifts up a lot of the flaws that you either had because of gameplay issues in terms of frame rate and stuff. I think what would make it a 10 would probably be like a bit more dismemberment. I think it definitely was getting in the right direction with cutting off some arms.
The droids.
Yeah, you could tell they were getting a bit more comfortable with the idea of letting teenagers chop some people in half. But no, I think really an absolutely solid game. Hands down, the most decent thing that EA has done with Star Wars games in general. But yeah, I think for the future, what I would like to see, I mean, really, kind of what the emotions that I had when finishing the game was really, I just want it to continue. Like, don't really change anything. Just let it flow. I hope they sort of do the same thing they did from Fallen Order to Survivor. Like, sort of, don't fix what isn't broken. I think the fighting mechanics are really at a point where they're really good. I think you could probably like tweak things here and there, make it maybe even more fluent. But really, I hope they sort of continue the trend of like keeping the things that we've had in this game and then adding new stuff. So, I think if they do that, I think the next game is going to be absolute badonkers. I think it's going to be great.
Strike stole all my stuff next.
Ditto.
I was thinking like 9.2, 9.3, something like that was sitting in my mind. I don't know what the 0.2 and 0.3 came from, but yeah. But just what he said, I'm a big strict person when it comes to player optimization on how restricted you are in your experience when going through the story, because a lot of those little things can break the immersion. I kept double jump. Really? I could have used that the whole game. That would have made movement so much easier, and just like keeping the moves that we got so far and bringing them to the next game. I'm an open book, honestly. I'm just excited to see where it goes, because now we know Cal is a lot more powerful and finer tuned, I guess. Comfortable with himself. Even at the beginning of Survivor, that Powan senator, he's like, "We got you surrounded. I got a space, yada yada yada." And Cal's like, "Oh yeah, by the way, now
are you sure about that?"
Yeah. So that confidence gameplay was spectacular. I'm looking forward to something like that. So
very cool. Very cool.
Who's next?
It's you, man. Yeah.
Oh, I think this.
You next.
Yeah, all the.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. I guess I should probably.
Order.
Yeah, I should probably call it out because all the square, like your squares, are gonna look like mine.
Yeah, I'm gonna say 9 out of 10 as well. Obviously, I like Star Wars, and it's Star Wars. The emotional connectivity was like insane for me, so that was new. You know, a lot of games I don't connect with a ton. Gameplay and everything that I could imagine them fixing, like they fixed practically everything I wanted them to fix from the first one, and like just how cinematic it was. Like the level, I always think back to the level where you're fighting that droid spider thing, and just the TIE fighters flying by, and you're going through, like super amazing looking, and just also immersive in like what you can do. Like I was always sidetracked doing my missions. Like I'd be like, I'm gonna go find this, and like I would stop at 10 different places because there's so much to do, which was like a good thing, but it'd take me an hour to like finally finish whatever. And the only reason I don't give it a 10 out of 10 is because I feel, and it's not a bad thing, but obviously like a game that like Halo, I've played that for like over a decade. So I'm like that, those always be like 10 out of 10 no matter what. And with this one, it's just like still building on its story. But the positive in that is that like I've gotten way more connected to this story, like in the amount of time I have, than like any other game. Like I went from like, oh, it's a good game, and then the second one, I'm like, I'm so invested, so emotionally connected to it, and it was really good. So I think it was like damn near perfect.
Yeah. Man, gotta top that.
Sarah's like, let me get my book.
Let me start flexing now.
You haven't seen my final form yet.
I got that.
Oh gosh. So the number one thing everyone pretty much knows about me is that I am the world's biggest Cal Kestis fan. Like literally everyone knows that. I just love these characters so much. I haven't been this invested in a Star Wars story since like the OG trilogy and the prequels. Like it's been forever. Like don't get me wrong, as much as I strongly dislike the sequels, there were things I wish that were done better. And with this story, I just feel like it was just the natural, organic Star Wars that we all know and love, but telling it in a new way, in a new perspective. And Cal's just a character that's so relatable. Like everything, like just his emotions, his fears, everything, like it's just so relatable, and you just connect to every character on just like the most human way possible. And now heading into the third game, it can go so many ways, but I hope it doesn't fully conclude Cal's story. And it's like, okay, that's it. Like, I want this to be a continuation of like, this is just the beginning. Like, it's not the end. It's the beginning for him and the Mantis crew and whatever is next for them. I hope, even if he just makes a little cameo in a TV show down the line or a movie, I just feel like these actors deserve it, because the fact that I was so like emotionally invested and like I felt their anger, I felt their sadness, I felt when they were happy. Like, not every video game can do that, and let alone movies and TV shows. It takes a lot to get the audience to be moved by that so emotionally. So this game, absolutely, they knocked it out of the park for me, and I personally rate it a solid 10 out of 10. And it's probably biased because I'm a fanatic of the series, but for me personally, even though I did have a few crashes, it didn't totally kill the overall gameplay experience for me. I loved exploring. I loved collecting everything. I loved finding the little data banks and everything, and just getting more immersed into the story and finding new planets and just seeing where the story can go. I think it's truly something special, and they really do need to expand on it.
Couldn't agree more.
Heck yeah. Charlie, you're next, man.
Well, man, I've been a Cameron Monaghan fan since he tipped his hat into DC, and I found him playing Joker for the first time since he was Joker, and that took a lot of gonads to do that. So, yeah, this I'll go to my technical stuff when it comes to like the physical stuff. If they do, God, the motion capture in this is phenomenal. The way they convey it through either the fighting or through the acting, and say it 1,000 more times, that one scene just gut punches you. And just if they this is so good. Cameron Monaghan, who I'm pretty sure the actress did a lot of stuff as well. Most people did. I loved this game. I love everything about it. So the character from going from Fallen Order to this and just seeing where he picks up, you see the confidence in and everything like that, but very open in the game. It's like, why did he get captured? Oh, that's the Temple and Coruscant. Oh boy, what's going to happen here? Everything like this. Guys yakking. Yeah, I got you. And it's like, yeah, no, breaks out, does stuff. You're like, oh, well, he's upgraded as well. Still missed the poncho, but beside the point. The regular thing is it's just love seeing the interactions with people, seeing some familiar faces. Then get to see the Night Sister magic and how that picked up with the relationship with those two. The midpoint of, oh crap, baskets, this is starting to escalate to, oh, okay, I want to hunt this guy down. And then finding out, okay, well, this person can do this. Oh, well, we'll see if Darkseid does this and perfectly balances all things should be to mix things. At the very ending was just a powerful ending. So I enjoyed this game a lot. Just watching the thing, watching the downloadable content, seeing one of the, if not the best bounty hunter pop in. Lucky I wasn't spoiled. Yeah. So everything about it, just the characters, story, the gameplay, it looked great. And so I would give the game the midichlorian count was over 9,000. And if they go
9,000.
forward, yeah, you got the reference. Get on me. So yeah,
Dragon Ball.
Where they go forward for this?
It's over 9,000. I'm not going to break my glasses.
Yeah,
I need these.
I've still got one more left. No, that's another time. Going forward, I would love to see just dittoing what they said of just Cameron Monaghan is the perfect age where he looks just cameo for a split little second. Don't need like a whole thing. Just need like a little, just see him and BD just go like walk by. Hey, how's it going? Like, him.
That would be so awesome.
So hey, maybe in the Dave Filoni movie, you never know. He might he could pop in somewhere.
Yeah, that next game. See how he balances light and dark, especially with Night Sister magic with Marin and everything like that, and see where it goes from there. I've spoken.
Very Even cool, seeing something as simple as just a BD1 run across the screen like canonizes like a live action flesh, anything like that. That's what I'm looking forward to in Ahsoka. Like Anakin in the Clone Wars armor, that just makes everything that happened just a live action imagination of bliss. And plus, a lot of people can't say that they've shot a commercial with Mark Hamill where he was trained by him. So
I know, right?
Well, I my vote's still mine's lower than your guys's, but mine's still pretty high. I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10.
Sarah's like,
How dare you?
I have a pen. I don't have a lightsaber yet. One day I
You
will.
were the chosen one.
We have John Wick.
Oh god.
Dude. No, like the game's great. It's everything you want from a sequel, and I'm going to stand by that. The reason for me that I just give it an 8 instead of like giving it like a 9 or even like a 10, for me it just comes down to as much as I love this game, the same thing kind of happens to me personally. This is just my personal opinion, that the first game has. Once I played it and beat it, I didn't pick it back up. Like I beat it like a month or two ago, and I picked it up today because I wanted to beat the bounty hunter thing and play Boba, and I'm probably going to uninstall it and not play it for a very long time, just because like to me the game doesn't have a lot, and that's the problem with a lot of like story driven games too, is like story driven games follow a linear path, and I feel like a lot of it's very linear, so it doesn't give you a lot of replayability other than if you love the story and love the characters, stuff like that, which don't get me wrong, I do. But it's not, for me, it's not enough. Like, I know the story. I know, like, kind of like what JT was saying. Like, you've seen the movies, you've seen the stuff. Like, you'll go back and play it to reminisce and nostalgia, but, like, it doesn't give you a lot besides, like, the plus version of it, which to me doesn't give very much. And two, I think
only experience that twist one time.
Exactly. And like I said, it's a great. I love this game. Definitely way better than the first one. It gives you everything you want. But two, I would have preferred, like, Kobo and Jeddah are kind of like the main planets, and the other planets, because the other two are so big, kind of feel a little lackluster and don't give you that same, like, it, like for instance, like the mining one, super cool planet. Like, I love it. Almost looks like Polis Massa. If you guys have played that from the original Battlefront, it kind of gives you like a Polis Massa kind of like mining resources kind of vibe, and I really liked that planet. And then when I played through it for the story part, I felt like I never needed to go back other than those bounty missions, because like it's a very linear. You can literally run through it in about 5 minutes. And I would have just personally liked some of these levels to have, they don't have to be on the scale of like Kobo or Jeddah, but like I would have liked a little bit more exploration. And maybe that's just me, because lately I've been replaying Red Dead and it's just so vast and so like I would have liked some of that in it, and that's what to me kind of keeps it from that 9 or 10 thing for me, is some of that linearness subtracts some of the stuff for me. But like, again, like I'm sounding like a downer. Like I said, I still loved the game. Like, it was still great. And it was everything that I could have wanted from a sequel, and I hope they just build on it from there. So yeah, 8 out of 10 for me. But thank you guys for coming on and talking. This is one of the longest podcasts or roundtables I think we've ever done. 2 hours and 17 minutes. I think the lightsaber one might have been longer. I think that was the only one.
We can go longer.
And that's the thing too, is like we totally could have gone longer, because like I didn't even make it through like 4 or 5 of the questions that I was going to ask, but just for the sake of time, and
cannot make it longer.
just for the sake of time, I'm not going to make it digestible.
I'm going to leave you with one last thing.
Hello there. I'm just kidding.
Ravis is not my Jedi.
But yeah, thank you guys for coming on. All their links are going to be down below. Definitely go check them out. They're all doing cool stuff, from cosplays to writing fan fictions to building awesome stuff to martial art. We have awesome friends here at the PMP's Den of Antiquities, man.
just friends. Friends, check them.
Check them here, there. All their links are going to be down below. So definitely go, subscribe to their channels and check out their Instagrams and all that jazz. But as always, thank you guys for watching, and may the Force be with you.